Chapter 55:13. Lenny didn't care and continued to chat and eat with Ling Tianyu and Duanmuyu. He was just a nascent soul cultivator. Although he didn't know his specific level, he was definitely not as powerful as enchanting. Even if he had the god-controlling bracelet, he wouldn't be able to block Lin Yi's divine sense attack. The young man was originally looking at Ling Tianyu, but after seeing Duanmuyu, he immediately changed his target. He pushed away Wei Dao, who was still talking in his ear, and walked over in what he thought was the most handsome manner. "This beauty, it's really fate that brought us together." This young master said that something good seemed to have happened today. "It turns out that I met the woman of my dreams." From this guy's expression, it could be inferred that his so-called dream was at most a wet dream. "Get lost." Lin Yi's eyes turned cold, and he said coldly, "In all honesty, Lin Yi really didn't like trouble and rarely took the initiative to look for trouble. But if someone really came to look for trouble, Lin Yi didn't mind letting the other party know that trouble, in fact, looked like Lin." The young man didn't pay attention to Lin Yi's warning at all. He just glanced at Lin Yi disdainfully and said to Duanmuyu with a smile, "Beauty, what's the use of following these trash? Which sect or family do you belong to? Come, have a good chat with this young master. Let's drink a cup of wine first, and then talk at night under the candlelight. As long as this young master is satisfied, at least your family or sect will be able to sit firmly in the top 10 small sects and families." Duanmuyu moved towards Lin Yi with a look of disgust, wanting to stay away from this young man. At the same time, she said angrily, "Don't worry, I'm not interested in getting to know you. Also, can't you understand human language? I told you to get lost." "Oh, you're a little hot pepper. This young master likes little hot peppers like you. When the time comes, it will be even more interesting." The thickness of this fellow's skin was not inferior to his own strength. Moreover, as he spoke, he actually reached out to grab Duanmuyu's wrist. Clearly, he was going to use force. Even Ling Tianyu couldn't tolerate such a complete disregard for Lin Yi and Ling Tianyu, let alone Lin Yi. Although Duanmuyu had not made his relationship with Lin Yi completely clear, it was basically the same. Flirting with Duanmuyu in front of Lin Yi really didn't know how many lives this guy had. Getting lost was already Lin Yi's final warning. Since this guy was courting death, and it was clear that he was sent by Wei Dao, Lin Yi certainly wouldn't be polite anymore. 3 spiritual awareness whirlpools appeared out of thin air, spinning rapidly and tearing the soul of this young man. Moreover, Lin Yi also added some changes to it. After obtaining the spiritual awareness pill fire, Lin Yi had been trying to transform his spiritual awareness into pill fire at any time. The spiritual awareness whirlpool was completely composed of spiritual awareness, so there was no problem in transforming it into pill fire in theory. On the way here, Lin Yi had already put this idea into practice, and this time, Lin Yi, who was really angry, tried out this new spiritual scent elixir fire whirlpool for the first time. The whirlpool pulled and shook the young man's soul, and then the pill fire spread to the whole soul. It should be known that the soul was most afraid of things like pill fire. Usually, with the physical defense, the pill fire couldn't directly attack the soul. However, after Lin Yi improved the spiritual awareness pill fire whirlpool, he managed to do this kind of impossible thing. The young man's hand was still stretched out in midair, a foot away from Duanmuyu's wrist, but it couldn't go any further. Lin Yi himself didn't expect that the power of the spiritual awareness whirlpool turning into pill fire would be so amazing. In just a flick of a finger, the young man's soul had already been turned into ashes. He didn't even have time to scream, and his whole body slowly fell to the ground on his back. Wei Dao, who was behind him, was dumbfounded. In fact, he did not know what had happened, but the young man was already completely finished. Without going over to confirm, Wei Dao was sure that the young man was completely dead. A bone-chilling feeling spread from the bottom of Wei Dao's heart. Not only was he afraid of Lin Yi's means, but he was also afraid of the sect behind this young man. Wei Dao was powerless against them. After a short while, Wei Dao laughed hysterically. "It's over. You're dead. I'm dead too." How dare you kill the son of the sect leader of Qinquan's sect so openly? Blue Cloud sect on the North Island, Yiling sect, Thousand Blades sect, and our tyrant Saber sect. Get ready to bear the wrath of Qinquan's sect. In the end, Wei Dao's wild laughter turned into crying. The son of the sect leader of Qinquan's sect. He had come because of his instigation, but he had died in the hands of Lin Yi the moment they met. It was basically impossible for Tyrant Saber sect to stay out of this. Just as Wei Dao had said, Qinquan's sect's wrath would turn all the sects that were related to them into ashes. Hearing the words, Qinquan's sect, many of the onlookers who had been watching the show disappeared without a trace. As the saying went, a fire at the city gate would bring disaster to the fish in the moat. Anyone who had anything to do with this matter might become the unlucky fish in the moat. Therefore, it was better to run as far away as possible now. The waiter's expression had already changed. Lin Yi was indeed someone that the inn didn't want to provoke, but Qinquan's sect was ranked first on the list of people that they couldn't afford to offend. In fact, the inn had the shadow of Qinquan's sect behind it. Now that the son of the sect leader of Qinquan's sect had died in an inn, things were really getting out of hand. Wei Dao, who had lost control of his emotions, ran out crying and laughing. He didn't even care about the body of the son of the sect leader. As for the people of the inn, they didn't come out to do anything. This matter was no longer something that they could handle. Both sides are not simple people. Staying out of it was the best way. In fact, the background of the inn was one of the 4 major sects. The primordial mountains were jointly controlled by the 4 major sections. Naturally, the ruined town was also jointly controlled by the 4 major sections. The reason why the inn was so confident was because of this place. If Lin Yi was only the martial granduncle of the Blue Cloud sect in the North Island without the identity of a senior alchemist, the inn would naturally deal with him immediately for the sake of the Qinquan sect behind it. But since Lin Yi was not so simple, and the Qinquan sect was only one of the 4 masters behind the inn, it was best for the Qinquan sect to deal with him themselves. Ling Tianyou's face was a little pale, but there was no fear in his expression. Anyway, the Thousand Blades faction and the Qinquan sect had been enemies for generations. One more life was not a big deal at all. Brother Lin, this time I, Ling Tianyu, have dragged you down. If Wei Dao hadn't wanted to deal with me, he wouldn't have brought the people of the Qinquan sect here and dragged you into this. Ling Tianyu said to Lin Yi apologetically. Chapter 55:14. If it was only Ling Tianyu himself, it would not be a big deal to offend the Qinquan sect. But Lin Yi had the North Island's Blue Cloud sect behind him. Offending the Qinquan sect was not a good thing for the North Island's Blue Cloud sect. Lin Yi smiled faintly and said, "It's none of your business. This time, this guy provoked me. He deserves to die." This was true. If the son of the head of the Qinquan sect had not wanted to flirt with Duan Muyu, Lin Yi might not have killed him. This was the case with Wei Dao and the Hegemon Saber sect. Lin Yi did not even seriously injure them. He just taught them a lesson. As for the Qinquan sect, Lin Yi really did not care much about it. It was just the son of the head of the sect. Even if it was the head of the sect, it did not matter if he died. This time, the North Island's Blue Cloud sect was going to compete for the top 4. In any case, they had to pull down one of the top 4 so that the North Island's Blue Cloud sect could be promoted. Originally, there was no goal. Now it was the Qinquan sect. Duan Muyu didn't say anything, but he felt a sweetness in his heart. Lin Yi said that the guy had provoked him, so he deserved to die. Didn't that mean that Duan Muyu's problem was Lin Yi's problem? As for the horror of the Qinquan sect, Duan Muyu did not feel anything. The more time he spent with Lin Yi, the more he felt that Lin Yi was unfathomable. Those magical abilities gave Duan Muyu a strong confidence for no reason. As long as Lin Yi was there was nothing that could not be solved. After hearing Lin Yi's words, Ling Tianyu did not seem to be relieved. He still looked guilty. Lin Yi patted him on the shoulder and said, "Don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. I will deal with it." Duan Muyu also tried to persuade him. Ling Tianyu was an open-minded person, so he also let go of his worries. However, the Thousand Blades faction still had to make some preparations, so he immediately took his leave. The residents of Blue Cloud Sect and Yi Ling's sect in the North Island were adjacent to each other. Lin Yi went back with Duan Muyu. As for the things here, someone from Nin would naturally take care of them. Lin Yi only needed to think about how to face the revenge of Qianquan's sect. Duan Muyu also knew that Lin Yi needed to discuss the matter of Qianquan's sect with the people of Blue Cloud Sect in the North Island. Therefore, even though he was a little reluctant, he had no choice but to part ways with Lin Yi when they arrived at Yi Ling's sect. After Lin Yi returned to Green Cloud Sect in the North Island, Xi and Ijia immediately came to him. Xi and Ijia had already received the news about what had just happened. After all, the son of the head of Qianquan's sect was killed by Lin Yi. This kind of news spread quite fast. Marshal Granduncle, are you going to take action against Qianquan's sect? Xi and Ijia asked immediately after being asked by Lin Yi to sit down. Lin Yi looked at Xi and Ijia strangely and said, "You don't seem to be worried that Qianquan's sect will take revenge on Blue Cloud Sect at all." "Worry? Why should I worry?" Xi and Ijia was stunned, and then he said with a smile, "Marshal Granduncle, don't joke. With you in Blue Cloud Sect, what's there to worry about? Besides, I know what you're thinking. One of the top 4 is the goal of our Blue Cloud Sect in the North Island in the Archean Grand meeting this time. Since we want to be promoted, we need one of the top 4 to give us a place." Haha, you're quite insightful. Lin Yi really thought so he had nothing to hide. Xi and Ijia thought for a while, and then said, "I originally thought that Marshal Granduncle would choose the weaker top 4, such as Enlightenment Sect, which ranks 3rd among the top 4. I didn't expect that Marshal Granduncle would directly choose Qianquan's sect, the top of the top 4. Are you trying to make our Blue Cloud Sect the top of the top 4? Marshal Granduncle's courage is really not something that I can compare with." Looking at Xi and Ijia's compliment in the last sentence, Lin Yi was secretly amused. Since when did he want to pick the strongest Qianquan sect? It was just that the people from Qianquan's sect jumped out to court death. To Lin Yi, the ranking of the top 4 was really not that useful. It was the same for any one of them. "You said that my target would be the weaker top 4, such as Enlightenment Sect, which ranks 3rd among the top 4. Why isn't it the weakest one? The 4th should be the Shangguan clan, right? According to what you said, wouldn't it be better to choose the 4th instead of the 3rd? Lin Yi thought it was a little strange, so he asked casually. Xi and Ijia seemed to have expected that Lin Yi didn't know, so he didn't feel strange at all. He still answered respectfully, "Marshal Granduncle, the Shangguan clan is the backing sect of our Blue Cloud Sect in the North Island." "No, it should be said that the Shangguan clan is the backing sect of our North Island Alliance. Although the Shangguan clan is the weakest among the top 4, it seems that we shouldn't attack them because of this relationship." Backing sect? If the Blue Cloud Sect is in trouble, will the Shangguan clan stand up for them? Lin Yi asked curiously. He had been in the ancient underworld for quite some time, but this was the first time he heard that the Shangguan clan had such a relationship with the Blue Cloud Sect, or the 3 big sects of the North Island. "Uncle Master, you know that the 4 sides of the Immemorial Mountain Range are controlled by the 4 big sects and families. Anyone who wants to get the resources in the Immemorial Mountain Range has to choose one of the 4 big sects and families. Otherwise, it will be extremely difficult to get the resources, let alone the position of the 10 small sects and families. All the sects and families in the Immemorial Small Jianghu are basically under the command of the 4 big sects and families. It's just that the relationship is a little loose," Xi and Ijia explained patiently. Lin Yi nodded and said, "I see. Then why did the 3 big sects of the North Island choose the Shangguan clan as their backing sect? Geographically speaking, the Shangguan clan isn't the closest to the 3 big sects of the North Island." Xi and Ijia said with a smile, "That's because the 3 big sects of the North Island and the Shangguan clan are related. Thousands of years ago, the Shangguan clan didn't exist. They were originally a family that separated from the soaring sect of the North Island. However, after a long period of development, the Shangguan clan became even more powerful than the 3 big sects of the North Island. Since they are from the same sect, the 3 big sects of the North Island naturally chose the Shangwan clan as their backing sect. Lin Yi was shocked. The Shangwan clan really came from the Soaring sect? Wasn't that the same as the Soaring sect of the Heaven Step Island? It seemed like the Shangwan clan and the Shanghai Tianhua were related by blood. If that was the case, for the sake of Shanghai Tianhua, Lin, you should take good care of the Shangwan clan. Chapter 55-15. Of course, with the Shangwan family's status in the immemorial underworld, they would never think that they needed Lin Yi's help. Instead, they would take care of Lin Yi. Speaking of which, when Lin Yi heard about the relationship between the Shangwan family and the three big sects of the North Island, he couldn't help but recall a similar story when he was in the secular world. The Hidden Yu family was originally a branch of the secular Yu family, but after they developed in the hidden world, they became the sect leader of the secular Yu family. This kind of inspiring story was quite similar. Oh right, Grand Uncle, I forgot to tell you that the Xuanji sect has now joined the Five Elements sect. So, to be exact, only the Soaring Sky sect and our Blue Cloud sect have a Shangwan family as our backing. Xi and Ijia have been talking about the three big sects of the North Island for a long time, but he suddenly realized that the situation was a little different now. So he quickly added, the Xuanji sect has joined the Five Elements sect? Why? Lin, he asked curiously. Didn't they say that the three big sects of the North Island were in the same boat? Why did the Xuanji sect join the Five Elements sect? Xi and Ijia sighed and said, you can't blame the Xuanji sect for joining the Five Elements sect. The Shangwan family is just too weak among the four big sections. The Xuanji sect hasn't been able to enter the top 10 small sects and families for a few years now. If it wasn't for the support from the Soaring Sky sect and our Blue Cloud sect, their strength would only continue to decline. Therefore, in order to re-enter the top 10 small sects and families, they have no other choice but to join the Five Elements sect. Lin Yi nodded and said, so that's what happened. Forget it then. The three big sects of the North Island are in the same boat. When our Blue Cloud sect becomes the top 10, the Xuanji sect will come back. That's right, with Grand Uncle, the Xuanji sect will come back. Xi and Ijia nodded hard, then asked, Grand Uncle Master, although we, the Blue Cloud sect of the North Island, have set our goal as the top 4 sects in the Archean Grand Meeting this time, we still need to choose one of the top 4 sects as our backing before we start. Do you think it's still the Shangwan clan? Let's go with the Shangwan clan. Since they have such a good relationship, there's no need to change it. Lin, he casually made up his mind. Whether the Shangwan clan was weak or not, Lin, he didn't care at all. It was just a name. If he wanted to be strong, the most important thing was his own strength. All right, since Grand Marshal Uncle thinks that the Shangwan clan is good enough, I'll send my name card to the Shangwan clan. Once the Shangwan clan sends someone to inform us, we'll pay them a visit. It's just a formality, just a formality. Xi and Ijia felt it was wrong to ask Lin Yi to greet the Shangwan clan, so he quickly added. Lin Yi didn't really care whether he paid a visit or not. He just nodded indifferently and said, you go and arrange it. Yes, Grandmaster. I'll take my leave now. Xi and Ijia stood up and bowed. He took a few steps back before he turned around and left. Lin Yi couldn't do anything about Xi and Ijia's courteous behavior, so he could only let him be. At the same time, Wei Yidao, who had regained his consciousness, had already found the base of the Qinkuan sect. He was kneeling on the ground with tears and snot running down his face, distorting the truth. He wanted to get rid of the Tyrant Saber sect and himself. Then he wanted to frame Lin Yi and the others. Sect leader, the young sect leader saw that Duanmu Yu from the Yi Ling sect was talented, so he went over to chat with him. However, Ling Tianyu from the Thousand Blades sect saw it. Everyone knows that the Thousand Blades sect and the Qinkuan sect have a grudge against each other. So Ling Tianyu, this vicious villain, immediately found Lin Yi from the Blue Cloud sect in the North Island. Lin Yi is Duanmu Yu's admirer. Under Ling Tianyu's instigation, he sneakily attacked the young sect leader. The poor young sect leader is a heavenly talent, but he was actually killed by these villains. I wanted to rescue him, but because I was too weak, I didn't even have the chance to do so. Wei Yidao burst into tears as he spoke. His acting skills were absolutely amazing. In fact, Wei Yidao was afraid that his lie would be exposed. If that happened, he and the Tyrant Saber sect would definitely end up worse than Lin, E, and the others. Therefore, his crying was not fake. The person sitting in the middle was the sect leader of the Chinquan sect, Tribulation Immortal. He was an expert at the peak of the late nascent soul realm, and he was the one who led the team to participate in the Archaeozoic Grand Meeting. The highest elder, Immortal Du Nan, did not come to the Archaeozoic Mountains. Instead, he stayed in the sect. The reason why the Chinquan sect was so powerful was not because of Immortal Du Nan's strength, but because there were 7 nascent soul realm experts in the entire Chinquan sect. In addition to Immortal Du Nan, who was at the peak of the late nascent soul realm, the second was Tribulation Immortal, who was at the peak of the late nascent soul realm. In addition, there was 1 late nascent soul realm, 2 middle nascent soul realm, and 2 early nascent soul realm experts. However, before the Archaeozoic Grand Meeting started, Tribulation Immortal's son, an expert at the early nascent soul realm of the Chinquan sect, was inexplicably killed. Hearing Wei Dao's words, Tribulation Immortal slapped the tea table beside him with a cold face. The entire tea table, along with the teacups and ornaments on it, turned into powder in an instant and fluttered to the ground. Wei Dao happened to steal a glance at Tribulation Immortal and was immediately frightened. He immediately kept quiet out of fear, but his body could not stop trembling slightly. What a great green cloud sect of the North Island! What a great Lenny! How dare you kill my son who is going through Tribulation Immortal? You really don't know how to write the word death. At this time, Tribulation Immortal almost could not suppress the killing intent in his heart. Although he had more than one son, and this person at the early nascent soul realm was not the most outstanding one, his son was still his son. If he did not get angry, he might as well cut his own throat. Wei Dao, who was kneeling on the ground, was overjoyed. It seemed that Tribulation Immortal's main target was Lin E. As for the Tyrant Saber sect, it seemed that they did not want to vent their anger on him. Although Yi Ling's sect and Qianren sect were not mentioned by Tribulation Immortal, this result was already beyond Wei Dao's imagination. As long as he could get rid of Lin E, Yi Ling's sect and Qianren sect would be easy to deal with. Not to mention the Chinquan sect, even the Tyrant Saber sect would not take these 2 sects seriously. Sect leader, please calm down. After all, the Green Cloud sect of the North Island is one of the top 10 sections. Although we, the Chinquan sect, are the leader of the 4 big sects, we still have to abide by the rules set at the beginning. Otherwise, we, the leader of the 4 big sects, will be jointly targeted by the other 3 sects. An elder of the Chinquan sect beside him persuaded in a low voice. The Archaeozoic Grand Meeting was about to begin, and the Chinquan sect could not be disorderly. Tribulation Immortal took a deep breath, nodded, and said, "Yes." Although we, the Chinquan sect, are the leader of the 4 big sects, we have not reached the point where we can cover the sky with one hand. Since we made the agreement that year, we must abide by it. At worst, after the Archaeozoic Grand Meeting begins, we can target the Green Cloud sect of the North Island. Chapter 55:16. Wei Dao didn't dare to interrupt, but he couldn't help feeling disappointed. He had heard about the agreement mentioned by Tribulation General. It seemed to be an agreement between the 4 big sects and families. Anyone who wanted to attack the 10 small sects and families of the 4 big sects and families had to get the consent of the 4 big sects and families. Otherwise, the 4 big sects would be in chaos, and the so-called backing sects would only exist in name. If the Chinquan sect wanted to attack the Blue Cloud sect, they had to get the consent of the backing sections. Otherwise, they would violate the rule and be attacked by the other 3 sects and families. Although the Chinquan sect was stronger than the other 3 big sects, if the other 3 big sects joined hands, they would be able to crush the Chinquan sect. Because of this, the balance of power in the small, archaic Jianghu could be maintained. Someone go and find out which backing sect the Blue Cloud sect is this year. Tribulation General didn't lose his mind. He immediately sent someone to investigate the situation of the Blue Cloud sect. According to the usual practice, The Green Cloud sect of the North Island should be supported by the Shangwan family. It was the weakest among the four big sects, with only 3 nascent soul cultivators, which barely met the standard of the 4 big sections. If the Green Cloud sect of the North Island was still under the Shangwan family, Tribulation Jinren felt that he might be able to get permission from the Shangwan family when he proposed a deal with the Green Cloud sect of the North Island. But if the Blue Cloud sect of the North Island switched to a powerful sect like the Five Elements sect, like the Xuanji sect of the North Island, which was only slightly inferior to the Qingquan sect, they would never agree to the request of the Qingquan sect. A disciple of the Qingquan sect outside the door answered and ran out quickly. It wasn't a secret, so he could get the news by asking around. Soon, the disciple came back to report. Sect leader, the North Island's Blue Cloud sect hasn't paid a visit to the pier yet, so they don't have a backer yet. However, I heard that the North Island's Blue Cloud sect has already sent a visit card to the Shangwan clan. I think they have chosen the Shangwan clan as their backer this year. This disciple was very clear. He even knew that Xianijia had just sent someone to the Shangwan family to send a visiting card. Great. That's great. Tribulation Crossing Jinren suddenly opened his eyes, sneered, and said, "Spread the news for me right now. The Blue Cloud sect of the North Island killed my son. The Shangwan family? I'd like to see if you dare to accept the North Island Blue Cloud sect." If the North Island's Blue Cloud sect had already paid their respects and become a disciple of the Shangwan family, then maybe the Shangwan family would protect the North Island's Blue Cloud sect for the sake of their reputation. But since the North Island's Blue Cloud sect was not yet a disciple of the Shangwan family, then after hearing the news released by the Qingquan sect, they would have to carefully consider whether to accept the North Island's Blue Cloud sect or not. Was it worth it for the Shangwan clan to offend the Qingquan sect, the leader of the 4 big sects, just for the Blue Cloud sect? Not to mention the Shangwan clan. Even if the Five Elements sect got the news, they might not accept the trouble of the Blue Cloud sect from the North Island, because it was obvious that they were the enemy of the Qingquan sect. Sect leader is brilliant. As long as we spread the news, I guess the other 3 sects will not deliberately disrespect our Qingquan sect. At that time, the Green Cloud sect of the North Island will not even have a sect to rely on. It will be a piece of cake to kill them. The elder who tried to persuade Jinren Crossing Calamity agreed with his method very much, and he sent Wei Yidao to help. Wei Yidao was overjoyed. He immediately thanked Jinren Crossing Calamity and left. He had been prepared for the Tyrant Saber sect to vent their anger on them, but he did not expect that Lin Yi was so powerful that he directly took all the blame. In fact, Wei Yidao did not understand that the Qingquan sect completely targeted Lin Yi because they had complete information about Lin Yi. They knew that Lin Yi was the pillar of the Blue Cloud sect of the North Island. If they did not get rid of Lin Yi, even if the Blue Cloud sect of the North Island didn't do anything this time, they would definitely have a chance to soar next time. Although the Blue Cloud sect of the North Island might not be able to threaten the position of the Qingquan sect, the Qingquan sect did not want to easily change the current power structure. They originally had the intention of suppressing the Blue Cloud sect of the North Island. Now that such a thing had happened, if they did not take the opportunity to target the Blue Cloud sect of the North Island, they would never be able to rise again. At the same time, the Shangwan family had received the visiting card from the Blue Cloud sect of the North Island, and they agreed to meet the people from the Blue Cloud sect of the North Island. However, when the people from the Blue Cloud sect went back to report, the news spread by the Qingquan sect also reached the Shangwan family. For a moment, the expression of the current family leader of the Shangwan family changed. Should he meet the Blue Cloud sect of the North Island or not? Shangwan Qingyan walked back and forth with his hands behind his back. As the current family leader of the Shangwan family, it was really difficult for him to make a decision about the Blue Cloud sect of the North Island. Based on the relationship between the Shangwan family and the Blue Cloud sect of the North Island, they should accept the Blue Cloud sect of the North Island. After all, they had already accepted the visiting card. However, offending the Qingquan sect for the Blue Cloud sect of the North Island was not the result that Shangwan Qingyun wanted to see. No, I have to ask my father for his opinion on this matter. Shangwan Qingyun muttered. In the end, he decided to pass this burden to his father, the supreme elder of the Shangguan family, Shangguan Feixing. After making the decision, Shangguan Qingyun immediately went to meet his father. This time, the Shangguan family had mobilized the entire Shangguan family for the distant ancient grand meeting, and all of their high-end combat power had come. Therefore, it was quite easy for Shangguan Qingyun to meet Shangguan Feixing. Father, about the Blue Cloud sect of the North Island. Shangguan Qingyun couldn't wait to speak before he entered the room. Calm down. Shangguan Feixing calmly interrupted Shangguan Qingyun's words. At this moment, he was riding a brush beside the desk. Although he knew that his son was here, he had no intention of raising his head. Shangguan Qingyun knew that his father didn't like to be interrupted when he was writing, so he could only shut his mouth in embarrassment. After Shangguan Feixing finished writing, he put down the brush in his hand, raised his head, and said unhappily, "You're already so old. Why are you still so impatient? You have to be as calm as a mountain when you encounter problems. The more you panic, the more mistakes you'll make." "Yes, I understand." Shangguan Qingyun hurriedly bowed to accept the advice. In the Shangguan family, the words of the old master were everything. Although Shangguan Qingyun was the current family master, important decisions still required Shangguan Feixing's approval. "Tell me, what happened to the Blue Cloud sect of the North Island? Did they switch to the other 4 big sects like the Xuanji sect?" Shangguan Feixing's tone was calm, but Shangguan Qingyun felt that there was a hint of melancholy in it. The Shangguan family had been weak for a long time, and even the Xuanji sect, which they had always supported, had switched to the 5 Elements sect. If the Blue Cloud sect of the North Island did the same, then the Shangguan family would indeed have no say among the 4 big sections. Chapter 55:17. Genius 1, second remember if you want to go. Sure, Net provides you with wonderful novels to read. From this point of view, the Shangguan family should accept the Green Cloud sect from the North Island. However, when he thought that he would have to fall out with the Qinquan sect because of this, Shangguan Qingyun felt that he had lost his courage. Hence, he could only clench his teeth and say, "It's not like that. The Green Cloud sect from the North Island has sent an invitation card." When Shangguan Feixing heard this, his expression relaxed slightly. He then said nonchalantly, "Since that's the case, do you have any other questions? The problem is that Lin Yi from the Green Cloud faction on the North Island killed the son of the Tribulation Master of the Qinquan faction. The Qinquan sect has already spread the news." Shangguan Qingyun did not make it clear. He only mentioned it briefly. He believed that his father would understand. As expected, after Shangguan Feixing frowned slightly, he nodded lightly and said, "Lin Yi, I know this person. He is the martial granduncle who suddenly appeared in the North Island's Blue Cloud sect. Originally, our Shangguan clan should have befriended this man. Originally, it should be, then what about now? It shouldn't be, right?" Shangguan Qingyun nodded his head in understanding. He roughly understood what his father meant. Although his father had just felt sorry for the fact that Xuanji sect had turned to his family, it seemed a little unkind to completely give up the Blue Cloud sect in the North Island now. However, Shangguan Qingyun quite agreed with this approach. "Let's play it by ear." Shangguan Feixing picked up the weasel hair brush on the brush rack again, dipped it in the thick ink, and continued to write. This also meant that the conversation was over. Shangguan Qingyun respectfully took his leave, thinking about how to adapt to the situation. Shangguan Feixing's intention was quite obvious. In order to not offend the Qinquan sect, he would give up on accepting the Blue Cloud sect from the North Island. He had no other choice, as the Shangguan family was too weak. The Qinquan sect had a total of 7 nascent soul realm cultivators. All right, one had died just now, so there were still 6 left. However, the Shangguan clan only had 3 nascent soul realm cultivators in total, and this was already the lowest number of the 4 big clans. If they had less than 3 nascent soul realm cultivators, they would be kicked out of the 4 big clans at any time. Blue Cloud sect of the North Island is really troublesome. Shangguan Qingyun whispered to himself. If they hadn't received the visiting card and knew about the Qinquan sect, the Shangguan clan wouldn't have accepted the visiting card at all. Now that they had agreed to meet the Blue Cloud sect of the North Island, it wouldn't make sense for them not to meet them. In that case, he could only meet them once and then casually send them away. Shangwan Qing made up his mind. He immediately waved his hand at a Shangwan clan disciple that was passing by and said, "You come here. Patriarch, what instructions do you have for this disciple?" That disciple was a disciple from a branch family of the Shangwan clan. Normally, he wouldn't have the chance to talk to Shangwan Qingyun. Now that he was suddenly summoned by Shangwan Qingyun, he immediately ran over. "You are the sixth son of the seventh branch, right?" Shangwan Qingyun thought for a while and asked uncertainly. After all, he was a disciple of a branch family and had only seen it occasionally. It was already good enough that he could remember this. Yes. Master, you could just call me Little Six." Little Six was overjoyed. He didn't expect the patriarch to be able to know his family ranking. Although he didn't know his full name, it was still not an easy feat. Little Six, I see. In a while, the people from the North Island's Blue Cloud sect will come to visit us. They want our Shangwan clan to be their backing. I have some matters to attend to, and it's not convenient for me to meet them. You could just find a reason to send them away. Shangwan Qingyun thought that it wasn't suitable for him to go out, so he asked someone to send away the people from the North Island's Blue Cloud sect. However, he didn't want to reject them too obviously. After this matter was over, it would be best if he could pull the North Island's Blue Cloud sect back to the Shangwan clan. After all, the Shangwan clan was already the weakest of the four big sections. If they lost the Blue Cloud sect after the Xuanji sect, then the Shangwan clan would really lose their right to speak. However, Shangwan Qingyun didn't consider that when the Blue Cloud sect needed the Shangwan clan chose to stand by and do nothing. After this matter was over, what reason would the Blue Cloud sect have to return to the Shangwan clan? Furthermore, with the Blue Cloud sect as an example, which other sect would be willing to tie themselves to the Shangwan clan, a clan without any guts? Xiao Liuzi understands. Xiao Liuzi is definitely the right person to handle such a small matter. "Master, just look at my performance." Xiao Liuzi immediately patted his chest. It was a rare opportunity to be able to perform in front of the master. No matter what, he had to seize it. As they were talking, a disciple came to report, "Master, the people from the North Island's Blue Cloud sect are here." So fast. Shangwan Qingyun was a little surprised. The people from the North Island's Blue Cloud sect had arrived not long after the person who sent the visiting card left. It seemed like the people from the Blue Cloud sect were anxious. They hoped to immediately rely on the Shangwan clan, so that the Qinquan sect couldn't attack the Blue Cloud sect. In fact, Shangwan Qingyun was overthinking. Lin Yi and Xinijia didn't care about the Qinquan sect at all. They wanted to use the Blue Cloud sect as a stepping stone to rise to the top. What was there to be afraid of? The reason why they came so quickly was only because the Blue Cloud sect's base was separated from the Shangwan clan by the Soaring Gate. Xiao Liuzi immediately cupped his fists and said in high spirits, "Master, I'll go and send them away. I'll come back soon to report to you." Shangwan Qingyun wanted to say that Xiao Liuzi's reason was a little euphemistic, but after thinking about it, there was no need to specifically explain it. Anyway, the people who came were not the direct descendants of the Shangwan clan. Even if the Blue Cloud sect was dissatisfied when they could escape from the Qinquan sect, he, as the Shangwan clan's master, would come forward personally. Then, everything could be salvaged. Therefore, Shangwan Qingyun didn't say much. He just waved his hand and asked Xiao Liuzi to represent the Shangwan clan to meet the people from the North Island's Blue Cloud sect. In the guest hall, Lin Yi and Xinijia were both there. Although the Shangwan clan was the weakest among the four big families, Lin Yi thought that he should take care of the Shangwan clan for the sake that they were from the same bloodline as Shanghai Tianhua. Therefore, he came to talk to the Shangwan clan's master personally. When the Archaeozoic Grand Meeting was held, the two sides should cooperate better. If the people from a Shangwan clan didn't know what was going on and accidentally hurt them, it wouldn't be fun if they killed two of the four big families at once. That's right, Lin Yi put both sides on the same level. To be honest, he had already overestimated the Shangguan clan. As for the backing sect, it was just a name. When the North Island's Blue Cloud sect became the leader of the four big families, it would be hard to say which sect would be the backing sect. Chapter 55:18. Genius 1, second remember if you want to go. Sure, Net provides you with wonderful novels to read. Not only that, this Jinan stage disciple even had a superior look on his face. He pointed his nostrils at Lin Yi and said, "You can go back. Our family master is quite busy and has no time to see you today." Lin Yi was slightly startled. Then his eyes became unfathomable. With his divine sense, he could clearly sense that there were two nascent soul realm cultivators not far behind this golden core realm disciple. One was at the late nascent soul realm, and the other was at the mid-nascent soul realm. Obviously, one of them was the master of the Shangguan clan. So, what was the Shangguan clan trying to achieve by doing this? Xian Egf frowned slightly and said, "Shangguan family head just asked our Jadian sect disciples to inform us that we can come and pay our respects. Why is there no time now?" Xian Egf would never say something like that based on his temper in the past. However, Xian Egf was no longer the ignorant person he used to be. Moreover, he had been with Lin Yi for a long time. Naturally, he had developed a spirit of arrogance. If it wasn't for the Shangguan family, Xian Egf would not have cared about them at all. Is it your place to butt in the matters of our patriarch? Why don't you take a look at yourself first? If it wasn't for the fact that your Qingyun sect has always been willing to be our Shangguan family's dog, you wouldn't even have the right to enter this door. Xiaolu had completely misunderstood Shangguan Qingyun's meaning. Originally, Shangguan Qingyun only wanted him to find a reason to send the people from Green Cloud sect away, but this fellow thought that Shangguan Qingyun did not want to accept Green Cloud sect at all, so he acted pretentiously, offending Green Cloud sect as much as he could, not to mention Xian Egf. Even Shangguan Qingyun, who was secretly following behind to see what was going on, had a dark expression on his face. He thought to himself, no wonder this guy is from a branch family. If there's such a person in the main family, the Shangguan family would have been wiped out long ago. What did you say? Xian Egf flew into a rage and stood up abruptly. However, before he could do anything, Lin Yi slapped him across the face. Love, go small, say, net couraging flame, 8 trigrams palm. Since he was from the Shangguan clan, Lin Yi didn't kill him. He just wanted to teach him a lesson. The wildfire 8 trigram palm was just a piece of cake for a small fry like him. Without any suspense, Xiaolu was sent flying away. Don't waste your breath on him. This kind of barking dog, just send it flying, Lin Yi said lightly. He retracted his palm and picked up the teacup next to him. He fiddled with it twice and leisurely took a sip. Xian Egf secretly wiped off the cold sweat on his forehead. He thought to himself, I thought I knew Grand Uncle Master style very well, but I didn't know him well enough. Yes, Grand Uncle, I'll keep that in mind. Xian Egf answered, feeling relieved. In the past, no one from the Blue Cloud sect would dare to be disrespectful to the Shangguan family. No matter how weak the Shangguan family was, they were still one of the big four. Any nascent soul cultivator would be stronger than the Blue Cloud sect. Shangguan Qingyun was extremely angry at this moment. Although Xiaolu was indeed rude, he still represented the Shangguan family. How dare Lin Yi turn against him and send him flying with a slap? What was the Blue Cloud sect trying to do? Could the people from the Reliance sect be beaten up as they pleased? The Shangguan family was indeed weak. The Qinquan sect and the Five Elements sect basically knew Lin Yi quite well. Only the Shangguan family's information about Lin Yi was still at the time when he first entered the ancient Jianghu. The Blue Cloud sect of the North Island brought back a Grand Uncle Master with a primordial spirit from the secular world. Lu Yun, go and teach these arrogant bastards a lesson. How dare they fight in our Shangguan family? Shangguan Qingyun turned around and whispered to the middle stage nascent soul realm elder, Shangguan Luyun, who was following him. Shangguan Luyun also heard that the people from the Blue Cloud sect were here, so he wanted to come and see them. However, after meeting Shangguan Qingyun, he knew the family's decision, so he simply followed Shangguan Qingyun to see the situation. Now that Shangwan Qingyun had spoken, Shangwan Luyun was naturally duty-bound to do it. He immediately agreed and appeared in the living room. How dare you? How dare you fight with the people of the Shangwan family in our place? Do you really think that the Shangwan family can be bullied by others? Kneel down and admit your guilt, Shangwan Luyun shouted, and, at the same time, he revealed his momentum of the middle stage nascent soul realm. In Shangwan Luyun's view, after the Blue Cloud sect of the North Island lost Shinjio, they would not even be qualified to be one of the top 10. Otherwise, they would not let a person at the early stage of Gold Core be the leader. As for Lin Yi, he seemed to have hidden his strength. Although he showed that he was at the peak of Foundation establishment, he should have the strength of the nascent soul realm. However, he was at most at the peak of the early stage of nascent soul. Therefore, the momentum of the middle stage nascent soul realm was enough to oppress Lin Yi and Xianijia. He did not need to make a move. He could directly use his momentum to make the two beg for mercy. This was the way that the Shangwan family should do. However, Shangwan Luyun did not expect that under the pressure of his middle stage nascent soul realm, even the leader of the early stage gold core realm, Xianijia, did not show any discomfort, let alone Lin Yi, who was still drinking tea leisurely. Not only that, Xianijia, who was initially smiling, suddenly turned cold after Shangwan Luyun revealed his power. He straightened his back, and his surging aura pushed back Shangwan Luyun's aura like a monstrous tide, suppressing Shangwan Luyun. Late-stage nascent soul. Shangwan Luyun was suddenly dumbfounded. What was going on? Where's the early stage of Gold Core? Even if nascent soul was mistaken as Gold Core, it was still the early stage of nascent soul. Late-stage nascent soul, what the hell was that? Lin Yi put down the teacup in his hand and directly made a combination punch of Soul Vortex and Frenzy Fire 8 trigram palm. While Shangwan Luyun's divine sense was unstable, he slapped him and sent him flying. He then said calmly, I told you just now. Did you forget it again? Don't show off your momentum. Just send him flying. Do you want him to kneel down and admit his guilt? You can't be so ruthless. You can't be so ruthless. Yes, Grand Uncle. Xianijia agreed, and secretly wiped the cold sweat off his forehead. He could not tell whether he was ruthless or Grand Uncle was ruthless. After all, Shangwan Luyun was a middle-stage nascent soul realm master, and Lin Yi did not have any intention to kill him. Therefore, the ordinary Soul Vortex and Frenzy Fire 8 trigram palm did not cause much harm to Shangwan Luyun. After being sent flying, Shangwan Luyun immediately stabilized his body. Although he was a little dirty, at least he was not as miserable as Xiaoluzi. Chapter 55:19. Then Lin Yi said slowly, We, the Green Cloud sect of the North Island, came to pay our respects to the Shangwan clan, not because we think highly of the Shangwan clan, but because the Shangwan clan and the three big sects of the North Island are of the same lineage. It's all because of this relationship. Do you really think that the Green Cloud sect is asking the four weakest big sects to be their backing? I really don't know where you get your confidence from. His words were quite rude. Not only did Shangwan Luyun's face turn red, but even Shangwan Qingyun, who was hiding in the dark, was also secretly embarrassed. However, what Shangwan Qingyun cared more about was the strength that Lin Yi had shown. It wasn't a big deal to be able to send Xiaoluzi flying with a slap, but to be able to send Shangwan Luyun flying with a slap, it wasn't simple no matter how he looked at it. Shangwan Qingyun knew that it would be difficult for him to do it so easily. In other words, this Lin Yi had at least the strength of the late nascent soul realm, or even higher. He might have reached the peak of the late nascent soul realm. Since when did the Green Cloud sect of the North Island have such powerful strength? At this moment, Shangwan Qingyun was a little hesitant. Judging from his strength that the Green Cloud sect of the North Island had shown, although it was far inferior to the Chinquan sect, it was already an outstanding existence among the 10 small sects. If the Green Cloud sect had another nascent soul realm cultivator, it would be qualified to fight for a place in the top 4 big sections. With such strength, even if they offended the Chinquan sect, they might not be destroyed. If the Shangguan clan intervened, they could protect the Green Cloud sect. With the Green Cloud sect as the Shangguan clan support, the Shangguan clan would definitely have more say among the top 4 big sects in the future. The most important thing was that Lin, he didn't fear the Shangguan clan at all. Thinking about it, it made sense. Lin, he even killed the son of the Qianquan sect's leader without hesitation. How could he have any fear for the Shangguan clan? Why didn't he understand this before? However, it was not too late now. From this point, it could be inferred that Lin, he should have some powerful trump card. In a flash, Shangguan Qingyan had already thought through the pros and cons. He immediately laughed and walked out. He cupped his fists and said, "My friend from the Green Cloud sector here. I couldn't get away from some matters just now. So, I asked my disciple to entertain the two of you. Sorry for the neglect." After saying that, he seemed to notice that the atmosphere in the living room was not right. He frowned and asked, "What's going on?" Lin, he didn't reply and just watched Shangguan Qingyan's act with a faint smile. He had been watching from the outside just now, so he didn't know what was going on. Who knows? Patriarch, Shangguan Liyan was about to speak when he was interrupted by Shangguan Qingyun's glare. "Shut up." Shangguan Qingyun's face was filled with anger. He pointed at Shangguan Liyan and said, Liyan, you are an elder of the Shangguan clan. How could you offend a guest? And Xiaoluzi, don't you know that guests are guests, and you must welcome them with a smile? Don't tell me that the friends from the Green Cloud sect came here to make trouble. Looking at you, I know the problem must be with you. Shangguan Liyan and Xiaoluzi felt wronged. However, the patriarch had made it clear that he wanted to push them out as scapegoats. They wouldn't be insensible enough to go against the patriarch. Now, they could only bear the blame. You, what should I say to you? Shangguan Qingyan looked distressed. After pointing at Shangguan Liyan, he pointed at Xiaoluzi and then at Shangguan Liyan. Have you forgotten that I have always said that the Shangguan clan comes from the 3 major sects of the North Island? We in the 3 major sects of the North Island are brother sects of the same origin. We are of the same breadth and branches, and we advance and retreat together. Why don't you listen to me? Lenny picked up the teacup again and took a sip. He didn't want to talk at the moment, so he just drank tea and watched the show. After Shangguan Qingyan finished his performance, he should get to the point. Judging from Shangguan Qingyan's attitude, today's matter should be over. Lin, he didn't want to make things too difficult for the Shangguan clan. After all, he had to give face to Shanghai Tianhua, not to mention the relationship with the Green Cloud sect. After reprimanding the 2 scapegoats, Shangguan Qingyan turned to Lin Yi and Xianijia with a smile and said, "My 2 friends, please don't mind them. These 2 guys probably have some complaints about the 3 major sects of the North Island because Xuanji sect switched to 5 Elements sect. So, they vented their dissatisfaction on the Green Cloud sect. After all, the 3 major sects of the North Island have always been a trinity. My 2 friends, please forgive them." He was really good at shifting the blame. Lin, he didn't bother to expose him, so he just drank his tea. Seeing that Lin, he didn't respond, Xianijia had to speak up himself. After all, the current leader of the Green Cloud sect was Xianijia. Since the patriarch of the Shangguan clan had already said something good, he couldn't go too far. Therefore, Xianijia and Shangguan Qingyan began to chat casually. However, they had a tacit understanding not to mention the sect they relied on for the time being. Xianijia still didn't know what Lin was thinking, so he naturally didn't dare to make a decision on his own. Shangguan Qingyan was the same. Although he already had the intention to rope in the Green Cloud sect, this matter was of great importance. After all, the decision still needed to be made by the old master. Since there was such a big commotion, Shangguan Qingyan knew that the old master would definitely come. However, the old master would never step out of the study room before he finished his calligraphy. Therefore, he could only delay it for now and wait for the old master to finish his calligraphy. Shangguan Qingyan felt that it was quite good for him to be able to do what Shangguan Feishing said. Fortunately, Xianijia was very cooperative and didn't put Shangguan Qingyan in a difficult position. Finally, when Lin Yi finished his 2nd cup of tea out of boredom, Shangguan Feishing appeared. He was still holding the calligraphy that he had just finished. After he came in, He handed it to Shangwan Luyun, who had a black face and a black walk on his back, and said, "Useless thing. Frame the calligraphy when it's dry." Shangwan Luyun didn't dare to refute. He quickly took it and said, "Yes." Grand Supreme Elder. Seeing Shangwan Feishing coming in, Shangwan Qingyun and Exinijia stood up to welcome the pillar of the Shangwan family. Only Lin Yi was still sitting calmly. He even signaled the disciple who was serving him to refill his teacup. Shangwan Feishing frowned at Lin Yi's attitude, his face expressionless. "Master Exine, your Green Cloud sect is really too arrogant now. It seems like our Shangwan house will have to rely on your Green Cloud sect in the future." Chapter 55:20. Exinijia was slightly stunned. He did not expect Lin Yi to ignore Shangwan Feishing like this. However, Exinijia thought about Lin Yi's identity and realized that he did not need to take Lin Yi seriously. As a staunch supporter of Lin Yi, Exinijia immediately replied, "Senior Shangwan, you're exaggerating. However, based on our Grandmaster's seniority, it's fine for Senior Shangwan to call him Grandmaster. Don't you think it's a bit too much to say that Grandmaster is arrogant?" Shangwan Feishing was so angry that he laughed. "What a joke. Don't think that I don't know that you brought back a strange primordial spirit from the secular world and claimed that he was the Grand Master of the Azure Cloud sect. It's fine if the Azure Cloud sect wants to mess around, but now you want me to call him Grand Master too? Do you really think that the Azure Cloud sect is the best in the world?" Lin Yi suddenly looked up at Shangwan Feishing and said calmly, "It's not up to you to decide whether the Azure Cloud sect is the best in the world. As for whether the Shangwan clan is going to rely on the Azure Cloud sect in the future, let's not talk about it for now. Let's talk about one thing now. What does the Shangwan clan want in this archaic grand meeting?" After a short pause, Lin Yi continued in a serious tone. "The Shangwan clan and the Azure Cloud sect are enemies? Friends?" Lin Yi's words revealed his unquestionable confidence. To be an enemy or a friend, there was only one choice. And to Lin Yi, these two didn't seem to be any different. Shangwan Feishing was furious, but he was shrewd enough to not fall out with Lin Yi on the spot. He immediately laughed and avoided Lin Yi's question. Instead, he brought the topic back to the Grandmaster's seniority. "I've always said that the Shangwan clan and the three big sects of the Northern Island are of the same origin. If you can prove that you're the real Grandmaster of the Blue Cloud sect, then I'll call you Grandmaster. But if you can't prove it, then I won't waste my breath on a fake like you." Shangwan Feishing sat down, squinted at Lin Yi, and said coldly. Lin Yi raised his eyebrows. According to his previous temperament, Shangwan Feishing's words were equivalent to answering Lin Yi's question. From now on, the Shangwan clan and Jadian were enemies and not friends. However, when he thought about the help that Shanghai Tianhua had given him on Heaven Stage Island, Lin Yi was patient and did not leave in a huff. "Forget it. Since you want evidence, I'll give you one." Lin Yi pointed at the calligraphy in Shangwan Liyun's hand and said, "If I'm not mistaken, what you wrote just now should be the Shangwan clan's mental cultivation method, right?" Shangwan Feishing was slightly startled. The Shangwan clan's cultivation technique was something that ordinary people would never know. "It's not very impressive that you could see through it." Shangwan Feishing calmed himself down and maintained a calm expression on his face. "Fu Yun's Qi Thunderstrike consumes the Nangong clan's tool principle." Lin Yi didn't answer Shangwan Feishing. Instead, he muttered something out of the blue. Exinijia was completely confused and didn't understand what Lin Yi was saying at all. However, Shangwan Feishing's body shook violently. He stood up abruptly with a face full of disbelief. He then fell in a deep thought. Shangwan Qingyun also felt a little dizzy. Others might not understand what Lin Yi was saying, but he was different. Shangwan Qingyun could be said to have memorized the Shangwan clan's mental cultivation method backwards. Even if he couldn't recite it, he still had the words that his father had just written for him. The last sentence only had 5 words. Fu Yun's Qi Thunderfalls. Could it be that the sentence that Lin Yi recited was the first sentence of the missing part of the mental cultivation method of the Shangwan clan? Thinking of this, Shangguan Qingyun immediately said to the disciple who was serving him, "There's nothing for you to do here. Bring little Six to heal his wounds. Without my order, no one is allowed to come here." "Yes, master." The disciple quickly went up to support little Six and walked out quickly. This matter was no longer something they could participate in. If they didn't leave immediately, they might be targeted in the future. Chapter 55-21. After Shangguan Qingyun and the others left, he let out a sigh of relief. He would have to rely on Shangguan Feishing to verify whether Lin Yi's recitation was true or not. Shangguan Qingyun didn't have the ability to do so, but no matter what, he had to keep everything that happened here a secret from now on. Why did Shangguan Feishing like to practice his family's mental cultivation method? Apart from it being a habit of the Shangguan family, the most important reason was that Shangguan Feishing wanted to deduce the missing mental cultivation method from the calligraphy. Only by doing so could the Shangguan family develop further. As for the other members of the Shangguan family, they were just following the Supreme Elder's footsteps and flattering him. They didn't understand the deeper meaning behind it. Unfortunately, the progress in this area had been stagnant for a long time. It wasn't that Shangguan Feishing didn't deduce some directions, but every time he delved deeper, he would find all sorts of problems, and he would end up back at square one. However, what Lin Yi recited was different. Shangguan Feishing was very experienced in deducing, so he could confirm that the second half of Lin Yi's mental cultivation method was completely correct after a slight deduction. Shangguan Feishing had tried many times to deduce the second half of the mental cultivation method, but every single word of the Shangguan family's mental cultivation method had an extremely important meaning. Perhaps Shangguan Feishing had deduced one word correctly, but if there was a problem with the second word, then he would have to start all over again. So it's like this. It's simply too amazing. Shangguan Feishing's expression kept changing, and he kept muttering to himself. It was obvious that he was immersed in Lin Yi's mental cultivation method, unable to extricate himself from it. Not only that, Shangguan Feishing had even started circulating his energy to verify the authenticity of the mental cultivation method. Lin Yi didn't bother him. It didn't matter if he told them half of the mental cultivation method. After all, the Shangguan family's mental cultivation method was still missing at least a quarter of it. The fact that they were able to become one of the 4 great sects and families with only 3/4 of the mental cultivation method was enough to show how powerful this mental cultivation method was. It was no wonder that on Heaven Stage Island, Shanghai Tianhua was one of the few giants. His fame spread all over Heaven Stage Island and was definitely not limited to the North Island. Actually, Lin Yi didn't know that when the Shangguan clan became one of the 4 big clans, they already had 3 nascent soul realm cultivators. After so many years, they still had 3 nascent soul realm cultivators. As for the other 4 big clans, they would at least have 1 or 2 more nascent soul realm cultivators, especially the Qinquan sect. It was because the Shangguan clan's core mental cultivation technique was missing a quarter of the most important part. If the Shangguan clan's cultivation technique was complete, they might have already dominated the entire underworld, and they wouldn't be the weakest among the 4 big clans. After a short while, Shangguan Feishing finally stopped. When he looked at Lin Yi again, his eyes were filled with passion. "Fellow Taoist Lin, where did you see this saying?" Although Shangguan Feishing didn't call Lin Yi martial uncle, there was an obvious change in his tone. At the very least, there was a hint of humility in his tone. Lin Yi curled his lips and thought to himself, "Would I tell you that I saw this on Heaven Stage Island? Would I tell you that it was the complete mental cultivation technique personally written by Shanghai Tianhua, and that it was picked out by his obedient granddaughter and given to me? Elder Shangguan, you don't need to know where I got this mnemonic chant. All you need to know is that this mnemonic chant isn't fake." Lin Yi chuckled and continued. "Could it be that Elder Shangguan thinks that this half of the mnemonic chant isn't enough, and you want the remaining quarter of the mental cultivation technique?" Upon hearing this, Shangguan Feishing almost knelt down. He didn't know how much of his family's mental cultivation technique was missing, but he estimated that it was at least 1/10 of it. He didn't expect Lin Yi to say that there was still a quarter of it missing. To be honest, Shangwan Feishing really wanted to call Lin Yi his ancestor. As long as he could obtain the complete mental cultivation technique, the Shangwan family's nascent soul realm would experience a surge. By then, not only would they be the leader of the four great families, they would even have no problem dominating the ancient martial world. Of course, if Lin Yi had the complete mental cultivation technique, the Shangwan family wouldn't be able to avoid Lin Yi and his Emerald Cloud sect if they wanted to dominate the ancient martial world. No matter what, this was a rare opportunity for the Shangwan family. If they didn't seize it, they would be punished by the heavens. Shangwan Feishing took a deep breath and squeezed out a smile that he thought was the most sincere. Fellow Taoist Lin, let's talk about the Emerald Cloud sect first. Speaking of which, the Emerald Cloud sect and our Shangwan family have always been of the same origin. So, this time, when the Emerald Cloud sect is in trouble, our Shangwan family will definitely lend a helping hand. Of course, the strength of our help will be different depending on the situation. If fellow Taoist Lin can help our Shangwan family with the complete mental cultivation technique, our Shangwan family will bear any trouble that the Emerald Cloud sect faces. What do you think? If not, I will send someone to announce that the Emerald Cloud sect's backer this year will still be our Shangwan family. Shangwan Feishing really wanted the mental cultivation technique in Lin Yi's hands. However, as he spoke, he lost his previous humility and reverted back to his previous arrogance. Lin Yi's expression turned cold. He glanced at Shangwan Feishing and said, "Are you mistaken? I've given you face by calling you Elder Shangwan, but don't think that you're someone important. Do you think I care about the Shangwan family's protection? Don't make it sound so funny, okay?" Shangwan Feishing was stunned. What was going on? He had taken the initiative to express his goodwill. Shouldn't Lin Yi thank him? If the Shangwan family and the Emerald Cloud sect were to join forces, they wouldn't have to worry about the Qinquan sect anymore. Especially since Lin Yi had the mental cultivation technique that the Shangwan family lacked. But what was Lin Yi's attitude? Was he looking down on the Shangwan family? To be honest, Lin Yi didn't really look up to the Shangwan family. With their cowardly attitude, where was the heroic spirit of Shanghai Tianhua? If word got out, it would be a disgrace to Shanghai Tianhua. I'll ask you one more time. In this archaic meeting, will the Shangwan family and the Emerald Cloud sect be friends or enemies? Lin Yi's face was cold as he continued with the previous topic. You've changed the topic before, but this time, I hope you can make it clear. If you want to be enemies with the Emerald Cloud sect, then I have nothing to worry about. I'll just step on both the Shangwan family and the Qinquan sect, and then support another sect to replace you. It doesn't matter if it's the Rising Sky sect, the Leaf Spirit sect, or even the Thousand Blades sect. Chapter 55:22. After that, Lin Yi turned around and said to Exionijia, "What I meant was so obvious, yet you want me to explain it more clearly. These people are so hard to communicate with. I think the Shangwan family is useless. What do you think?" Exionijia was 100% on Lin Yi's side. He immediately nodded and said, "That's true. Why don't we just go back? We can deal with the Qinquan sect and the Shangwan family anyway. It's not a big deal." Shangwan Qingyun was furious and said, "How dare you? Do you really think the two of you can just ignore our Shangwan clan?" Even if Lin Yi had some tricks up his sleeves, and Exionijia was already a late nascent soul realm expert, Shangwan Qingyun and Exionijia were at the same level, and Shangwan Feishing was at the perfected nascent soul realm. Together with Shangwan Luyun, who was at the mid-nascent soul realm, Shangwan Qingyun felt that he had the upper hand. However, Shangwan Feishing raised his hand to stop Shangwan Qingyun from continuing. He asked Lin Yi with a serious face, "Are you serious?" Lin Yi said indifferently, "I'm not in a mood to joke with you." After a pause, Lin Yi continued, "If sect leader Xian didn't tell me that the Shangwan family has been taking care of the Azure Cloud sect all these years, I wouldn't even bother to talk nonsense with you. You have to understand that I'm the Grand Master of the Azure Cloud sect, not the Grand Master of the Shangwan family. I don't even care about the Qinquan sect. How much do you think you're worth?" Shangwan Feishing was speechless. Lin Yi was right. Would a person who didn't even care about the Qinkuan sect care about the Shangwan family? Lin thought for a while and added, "Oh, by the way, I only said so much because I have a confidant who is related to the Shangwan family. Otherwise, do you think I would waste my time talking to her?" Shangwan Feishing, who was a little depressed by Lin Yi's words, was overjoyed. He quickly asked, "Is your confidant also an ancient essence soul?" "You don't need to know that. All you need to know is that it's true." Lin Yi was just casually mentioning it. Of course, he wouldn't tell her about Shanghai Laner. In fact, he was only doing this for the sake of Shanghai Tianhua. As for Shanghai Laner, perhaps she wouldn't care whether the Shangwan clan was related to her family or not. Shangwan Feishing continued to ask, "Then where is this woman of yours now? Can this old man pay a visit to her?" After hearing that Lin Yi had a female friend who was related to the Shangwan clan, Shangwan Feishing had already addressed Lin Yi with Sir twice. It was clear that he was quite anxious. Lin Yi didn't understand Elder Shangwan's thoughts at all. He waved his hand and said, "Impossible. You won't be able to see her." Shangwan Feishing couldn't hide the disappointment on his face. However, since Lin Yi had already said so, he couldn't say anything else. Right now, Shangwan Feishing was struggling in his heart. If he could see the woman mentioned by Lin Yi, it wouldn't be a big deal for the Shangwan clan to humble themselves. After all, everything that Lin Yi knew came from this female essence soul. Therefore, even without Lin Yi, the Shangwan clan's mental cultivation technique could still be completed. Apart from that, if this female essence soul was as powerful as Lin Yi, the Shangwan clan's rise would be unstoppable. Enrich, who was originally an early gold core ant, had now become a top-notch late nascent soul cultivator. In the entire ancient underworld, there weren't many people who could compete with Enrich. Unfortunately, there was one thing that Lin Yi was right about. No matter how powerful he was still the grand uncle of the Azure Cloud sect, not the grand uncle of the Shangwan clan. If there were any benefits, he could give some of the Shangwan clan, but most of it would definitely be given to the Azure Cloud sect. To the Shangwan clan, this was a great pity. Another thing was, although the Azure Cloud sect was very powerful now, it couldn't change the fact that the Azure Cloud sect used to be a sect under the Shangwan clan for a long time. Asking the Shangwan clan to cooperate with a sect under the Azure Cloud sect on an equal footing, or even to be in a weaker position, would be too shameful. Lin Yi saw Shangwan Feishing's hesitant expression, and Shangwan Qinyun, the current clan leader, didn't have any opinion. He was extremely disappointed in the Shangwan clan. It was because of this decision-maker that the Shangwan clan became the weakest of the four great clans. Even if they were given the complete mental cultivation technique, the Shangwan clan wouldn't be able to achieve much under the leadership of these two guys. "Forget it, let's go." Lin Yi stood up and said to Enrich. He was about to walk out. At this point, the future of the Shangwan clan had nothing to do with Lin Yi anymore. Shangwan Feishing's expression changed. He was hesitating whether he should ask Lin Yi and Enrich to stay. It was better to wait and see. He would talk to Lin Yi after he had made up his mind. Right at this moment, a disciple ran over at lightning speed, stopped far away outside the living room, and said in a loud voice, reporting to Grand Supreme Elder, Clan Master, "Two nascent soul elders from Qinkuan sect have come to visit. They say they want to catch the murderer of their sect master's son." Shangwan Feishing was stunned, and he was a little annoyed. Isn't this Qinkuan sect too overbearing? Catch him. This is the Shangwan clan, not the Blue Cloud sect's territory. Aren't they disrespecting the Shangwan clan by coming here to catch the murderer? However, before Shangwan Feishing could say anything, the two nascent soul sect elders from the Qinkuan sect had already barged into the living room. This made Shangwan Feishing even angrier. No matter what, they were from one of the four big sects, and they had barged into the living room without even notifying the Qinkuan sect. This wasn't just disrespecting the Shangwan clan. In fact, the two nascent soul realm elders from the Qinkuan sect did not have any special intention. They just heard from their informant that after Lin entered the Shangwan clan, he continuously beat up the people of the Shangwan clan. Obviously, he had fallen out with the Shangwan clan. In this way, the Shangwan clan would definitely not accept the Blue Cloud sect as their sect. Since that was the case, why didn't they take this opportunity to catch Lin Yi? Why would they wait for the Blue Cloud sect to find a stronger backer? Although the Qingquan sect was sure that the other four great clans wouldn't disrespect them after they heard the news, it was also possible for the Five Elements sect to accept the Blue Cloud sect. After all, Lin Yi was an alchemist, and the Five Elements sect was also a great alchemist sect. Therefore, the Tribulation Master quickly sent two nascent soul realm cultivators to kill Lin Yi. Chapter 55-23. One of the two nascent soul realm experts was at the late nascent soul realm, while the other was at the middle nascent soul realm. In terms of strength, they were second only to Immortal Du Nan and Immortal Du Jie in the Qingquan sect. They were ranked third and fourth in the Qingquan sect. Immortal Du Jie's dead son could not be compared to them at all. Immortal Du Jie believed that they were more than enough to kill Lin Yi. After all, his dead son was not talented. 80% of his strength came from the accumulation of exotic minerals and earthly treasures. His real strength was not even comparable to those at the peak of the late Gold Core realm. Which one is Lin Yi from the Green Cloud sect? Come out now. When the two nascent soul realm experts of the Qingquan sect entered the living room, they felt that the atmosphere was a little strange. However, they did not think too much about it. They just thought that this was the situation after the two sides had a falling out. So, they directly asked for Lin Yi. Then, they remembered that this was the territory of the Shangwan family, and it was not appropriate for them to be so direct. So, they cupped their hands and said to Shangwan Feixing and Shangwan Qingyun, Senior Shangwan, Family Master Shangwan, we were ordered to catch the murderer, Lin Yi, who killed our sect leader's son. Please forgive us if we have disturbed you. If you don't mind, can you do us a favor? It sounded like he was asking for their opinion, but in fact his tone did not sound like he was asking for their opinion at all. He was just stating a fact forcefully. Shangwan Qingyun looked at Shangwan Feixing awkwardly. When his old man was here, he would never make a decision. Besides, he was not a man with a mind of his own, so he did not dare to make a decision recklessly. Looking at the aggressive and arrogant expressions of the two nascent soul realm experts, Shangwan Feixing suddenly felt a little angry. He had already suffered a lot because of Lin Yi. Now, these two elders of the Qingquan sect dared to be arrogant in front of him. Even though the Shangwan family was not as powerful as the Qingquan sect, Shangwan Feixing was a perfected nascent soul realm cultivator, which is on the same level as Immortal Du Nan. These two elders were really nothing in front of Shangwan Feixing. You two, this is our Shangwan clan's territory. Don't you think it's against the rules for you to barge in without notifying us? Shangwan Feixing's expression was as cold as ice, and he spoke in an indifferent tone. The two nascent soul realm cultivators from the Qingquan sect were startled at the same time. They didn't expect Shangwan Feixing to have such an attitude. After looking at each other, the late nascent soul realm elder said, Senior Shangwan, we've talked about this just now. It's a sudden matter. Please forgive us. Shangwan clan, please do us a favor today, and our Qingquan sect will remember it in the future. Shangwan Feixing was still expressionless as he said, I can forgive you, but I can't make it convenient for you. Right now, our Shangwan clan is welcoming the Blue Cloud sect's guests. Please wait outside. If there's anything, we'll talk about it after Jade Cloud's sect pays their respects to the pier. Paying respects to the dock. I think they fell out. The late nascent soul stage elder of the Qingquan sect did not care about Shangwan Feixing at all. Whether or not there's a falling out, that's a matter between the Shangwan family and the Blue Cloud sect. There's no need for the Qingquan sect to worry. As for whether or not the Blue Cloud sect will be accepted by the Shangwan clan, it has nothing to do with your Qingquan sect. That's all I have to say. Please leave immediately. Shangwan Feixing's sudden, unyielding attitude surprised not only the two nascent soul realm cultivators. Even Shangwan Qingyun did not expect it. Lin Yi looked at Shangwan Feixing with a faint smile on his face. He had no intention of interfering. He thought that this old man was indecisive, but he didn't expect him to be so courageous. The late nascent soul stage elder of the Qinquan sect squinted his eyes and looked at Shangwan Feixing for a while. After all, Shangwan Feixing was a perfected nascent soul realm cultivator, and he didn't dare offend him. So, he nodded and said, "All right, we'll wait at the entrance. Tell us if the Shangwan clan has accepted the Blue Cloud sect or not." Shangwan Feixing was furious. This tone was clearly a threat, as if the Qinquan sect would come and destroy the Shangwan clan at any time if the Shangwan clan dared to accept the Blue Cloud sect. If it was Lin Yi, he would have slapped the Qinquan sect elder. However, although Shangwan Feixing was unyielding for a while, he didn't dare offend the Qinquan sect too much. He could only swallow his anger and say, "Please go ahead." The two nascent soul stage elders of the Qinquan sect snorted at the same time. They waved their sleeves and were about to leave. Lin Yi, who had been watching the show for a long time, suddenly said, "You two don't have to go ahead either. Yo, looks like you're quite tactful. You know that you can't escape after offending the Qinquan sect, so you're going to leave with us?" The late nascent soul stage elder of the Qinquan sect said with a happy expression, "It would be best if they could save themselves some trouble." Lin Yi laughed and said, "If you're stupid, you should read more books. Otherwise, it'll be difficult for you to understand what I'm saying. What I mean is, since you two are here, you don't have to leave." Before he finished his words, the soul hook hand had already struck out silently. The two nascent soul stage elders of the Qinquan sect didn't even have time to react before they fell to the ground. Everyone in the room was dumbfounded. What was going on? Why did the two nascent soul stage elders fall to the ground in a few seconds? Were they drunk? Did they suffer from heat stroke? Lin Yi turned to Xi and Ijia and said, "These two eyesores, throw them out and feed them to the dogs, lest they annoy me." Xi and Ijia knew that Lin Yi was powerful, but he didn't know that Lin Yi was this powerful. A late nascent soul stage elder and a middle nascent soul stage elder. He didn't even raise his hand, and they were killed just like that. Even if all the nascent soul stage elders and the ancient Jianghu united, they wouldn't be a match for Grand Uncle Master, right? Xi and Ijia was so excited that he felt like his heart was going to explode. However, he still looked very calm on the surface. This was the time to fight for Grand Uncle Master's reputation, so he couldn't be too stupid. "Yes, Grand Uncle Master," X and Ijia said calmly. Then he picked up the two nascent soul stage elders on the ground and walked out slowly. As for the three nascent soul stage elders of the Shangwan clan, they were all scared out of their wits. What the hell did Lin Yi do? He killed them just because of a disagreement. They didn't even see him move, and two nascent soul stage elders died just like that. If Lin Yi wanted to deal with the Shangwan clan, wouldn't it be as easy as flipping his palm? Come to think of it, when he was talking to Lin Yi just now, there were a lot of chances to kill them just because of a disagreement. It was already a miracle that they didn't die. After Xi and Ijia dealt with the two nascent soul stage elders from the Qinquan sect, he came back after a while. Seeing that the three people from the Shangwan clan were still in a daze, he coughed softly and said respectfully, "Grand Uncle Master, the two dead people have been dealt with." Chapter 55-24. However, seeing that Lin Yi did not speak, he thought for a moment and added, "Elder Shangwan, why don't we continue the topic just now? What is the Shangwan clan thinking?" After speaking, Xi and Ijia turned around and looked at Lin Yi. He was not sure if his words would make Grand Uncle Master unhappy. After all, the Shangwan clan came from one of the three great sects on the Northern Island. If possible, he should let them be with the Blue Cloud sect. Lin Yi was expressionless. He thought that Xi and Ijia was quite smart. Shanghai Tianhua had done him a great favor, and he should help the Shangwan clan if he could. So, he said calmly, "I didn't want to talk nonsense with you guys. I was planning to go back to the Blue Cloud sect and see who's stronger in the Archean Grand Meeting. However, just now, your attitude was not bad. At the critical moment, you did not do anything that would make me look down on you even more. Therefore, I have changed my mind and will give you one more chance. I will reluctantly accept you as my little brother's sect." Shangwan Feixing smiled bitterly in his heart. Lin initially came here to pay his respects, and he was prepared to accept the Shangwan clan as his backing sect. Just now, the Shangwan clan had the chance to be on equal footing with the Blue Cloud sect. But now, they had become his little brother's sect. However, Shangwan Feishing no longer had any dissatisfaction. With the methods Lin Yi had displayed, he was indeed qualified to accept the Shangwan clan as his little brother's sect. Especially when Lin Yi still had a quarter of the Shangwan clan's missing mental cultivation method. Who could he blame? He could have gotten everything, but it was good enough that he could keep some of it. If he lost everything in the future, he wouldn't even have a place to cry. Shangwan Feishing sighed his heart. He understood that it was inevitable for the Shangwan clan to become the Blue Cloud sect's vassal. Fortunately, this was not necessarily a bad thing, as the Shangwan clan might be able to rise in power in the near future. However, Shangwan Feishing still couldn't bring himself to do so. Hence, he lifted his leg and gave his son a kick. Then, he gave Shangwan Qing Yin a meaningful look. Shangwan Qing Yin instantly understood. He just didn't have his own opinions, but he wasn't stupid. He immediately put on a smile and said, "Senior Lin, no, Marshal Granduncle Lin, for you and sect leader Xian to think of our Shangwan clan, this junior is really grateful. Don't worry, Granduncle, during this immemorial grand meeting, our Shangwan clan will definitely follow the lead of the Blue Cloud sect. As long as Marshal Granduncle commands, the Shangwan family will definitely cooperate with you." Lin, he nodded his head. The Shangwan clan had finally realized the situation they were in, and they didn't continue walking down the dark path. However, Lin Yi also understood that the Shangwan clan had submitted to Lin Yi because of his domineering attitude, and it wasn't because they were willing to submit to him. In order to make them truly submit to Lin Yi, he would need to give them some real benefits. For example, Nascent Soul and Golden Core. Lin Yi tossed the two Nascent Soul Golden Cores to Shangwan Qingyan. After Shangwan Qingyan instinctively caught them, he said indifferently, "Take advantage of the fact that the ancient meeting has yet to start to raise your strength. Otherwise, I'll have to divert my attention to take care of all of you. It will be bad if I fall behind the top 4. Nascent Soul Golden Cores, and they're the supreme grade." Shangwan Qingyan cried out in surprise. At first, he didn't know what Lin Yi had tossed over like a stone. When he saw it clearly, he was immediately at a loss of what to do. These were supreme grade Nascent Soul Golden Cores. How could he just casually toss them around like this? At the very least, he should have kept them in 2 top-quality spiritual jade bottles. Even Shangwan Feishing was shocked by Lin Yi's generosity. Originally, he wanted Lin to tell the Shangwan clan more about the mental cultivation method. However, he felt that the relationship between the Shangwan clan and Lin Yi wasn't that good yet, so he had to wait until he could get closer to them. After all, with the help of a female primordial divinity grandmaster, there was still hope. However, the 2 supreme-grade Nascent Soul Golden Elixirs that Lin Yi had given out right now were definitely not any less valuable than the chant. After all, these were treasures that could immediately raise the Shangwan clan's combat strength. Even if the mental cultivation method was completed, it wouldn't be able to see its effects immediately. "Senior Lin, this gift is too precious." Shangwan Feishing was beaming with joy. He had completely let go of the last bit of unhappiness in his heart. However, he didn't dare to say that the gift was too precious, so he was embarrassed to accept it. If Lin Yi really took it back, he would really cry in a latrine. Lin Yi waved his hand nonchalantly and said, "It's no big deal. As long as they follow me sincerely, I will never mistreat them." Yes. Senior Lin, it's really hard to get a grandmaster like you. Our Shangwan clan has decided to return to the ranks of the 3 great sects of the North Island. Of course, we won't return to the Soaring Heaven sect, but to the Blue Cloud sect. Once he let go of the burden in his heart, Shangwan Feishing immediately did everything thoroughly. He even said that the Shangwan clan would return to the Blue Cloud sect. There's no need for that. After all, the Shangwan clan has a long history. There's no need for us to merge with the Blue Cloud sect. Of course, Lin Yi wouldn't agree to this suggestion. If he did, he wouldn't be able to face Shanghai Tianhua in the future. Looking at Shangwan Feishing, Lin immediately smiled and said, "Just say what you want to say, there's no need to beat around the bush." Shangwan Feishing said with a smile on his face, "Great martial uncle's eyes are really sharp. You've seen through this junior's thoughts with just a single glance. It's like this, because our Shangwan clan's cultivation technique is incomplete, many of our disciples can't progress any further. Great martial uncle, can you give us some pointers? If you just give us some pointers, we'll be able to avoid a lot of detours." To be honest, Shangwan Feishing didn't think that Lin would tell them the missing mental cultivation method of the Shangwan clan after giving them the 2 nascent soul golden cores. However, Shangwan Feishing didn't want to give up without asking. So, he carefully made this request with the intention of giving it a try. What he didn't expect was that Lin, he didn't even blink and agreed. "No problem. It's the mental cultivation method of your Shangwan clan, and I got it from the ancestors of your clan. It's only right for me to return it to you." "Grandmaster, it's natural for you to feel troubled. After all, you have to inform the female ancestor first." "What? Grandmaster, you're saying?" "No problem." Shangwan Feishing, who was worried about his gains and losses, instinctively thought that Lin Yi had directly rejected him. In order to not offend Lin Yi, he subconsciously wanted to find a way for Lin Yi to step down. When he understood what was going on, he immediately felt like he could die from happiness. Chapter 55-25. Without further ado, Lin Yi recited the rest of the mental cultivation method word by word. With the strength of these people, they could memorize it completely after hearing it once. Even if there were any omissions, the 3 of them could compare with each other, so there was no need to worry about them making any mistakes. After he finished reciting, Lin Yi said calmly, "This is the complete mental cultivation method that I know. Whether it's real or not, you can verify it yourself. I won't repeat myself if you remember it or not." "Thank you, Grandmaster." Shangwan Feishing was so excited that his eyes were brimming with tears. He almost knelt down in front of Lin Yi. With the complete version of the mental cultivation method, the rise of the Shangwan clan was just around the corner. Not to mention the 2 golden cores of nascent soul that Lin Yi had previously, he could also upgrade Shangwan Qingyun to the great perfection of the nascent soul realm. With 2 nascent soul realm cultivators at the great perfection of the Shangwan clan, even the Qinquan sect would not dare to provoke them. Speaking of which, the Qinquan sect had lost 3 nascent soul realm cultivators. Now that their strength had been greatly reduced, when Shangwan Qingyun reached the great perfection of a nascent soul realm, the status of both parties would be completely reversed. Lin Yi waved his hand at Exine Ijia, indicating that he could go back. As for the gratitude of the 3 guys from the Shangwan clan, Lin Yi just waved his hand to dismiss it. After leaving the Shangwan clan's gate, Exine Ijia, who had been forcing himself to stay calm, began to tremble with excitement. If he had done so just now, he would have embarrassed Lin Yi. But it didn't matter now. For Jadian's sect to have such a glorious moment, Exine Ijia had never thought of it before. Lin Yi chuckled and patted on Exine Ijia's shoulder. "Look at you. Such a small matter, and you're already so excited. When you become the leader of the Jadian sect, the leader of the 4 major sects, you'll be so excited." "Grandmaster, you're right. I've never seen the world, but I'm really excited. Our Qingyun sect has never been so glorious before." Exine Ijia touched his head awkwardly. He was already an old man, but he was still acting like a child. All right. No matter what, you're a sect leader. We're about to return to the station, so pay attention to your image." Lin Yi shook his head and reminded him with a faint smile. Then, he didn't say anything more. Exine Ijia agreed and quickly took a few deep breaths to calm himself down. After a few steps, he had recovered a lot. "All right, Grandmaster, since the Shangwan clan is now on our side, our Blue Cloud sect is already extremely powerful. Why don't we go look for the Xuanji sect as well?" After Exine Ijia calmed down, he suddenly thought of Xuanji sect, one of the 3 major sects in the North Island, so he immediately suggested to Lin Yi with hope. "What a great guy! Lin, he secretly laughed in his heart. Xin Ejia attached great importance to the words come from the same lineage. That's why he secretly suggested to help the Shangwan clan, and now he wanted to help the Xuanji sect. However, Xin Ejia had a sense of propriety. It was all within the scope that Lin Yi could allow. Therefore, not only did Lin Yi not dislike it, but he also felt that Xin Ejia was indeed a trustworthy person. If you think it's a good idea, just do it. I have no opinion. Lin Yi didn't care much about the Xuanji sect. After all, it was just a sect that didn't even enter the top 10. Moreover, Lin Yi didn't have much of a relationship with the Xuanji Pavilion on the Heaven Stage Island. Since Xin Ejia mentioned it, he would help him if he could. It wouldn't take much effort anyway. Xin Ejia was overjoyed. He clenched his fist hard and said, "Thank you so much, Grandmaster. I'll go to the Xuanji sect and have a talk with them later." Although they have already found the Five Elements sect as their backing, it won't stop the Xuanji sect from returning to the top 3 sects of the Northern Island. In fact, there would definitely be an impact. However, after Xin Ejia saw how Lin Yi dealt with the Qinquan sect, he naturally had a sense of pride and arrogance. He felt that even if the Five Elements sect had an opinion, it would be insignificant to the Blue Cloud sect. Moreover, Xin Ejia believed that Lin Yi would never care about the Five Elements sect's opinion. "All right, do as you see fit. Just let me know when you're done," Lin Yi said indifferently. He then walked into the courtyard of the Blue Cloud sect station. In the open space in the courtyard, there was a disciple of the Blue Cloud sect practicing his martial arts. He controlled the power of the martial arts within a radius of half a foot around his body, without any leakage at all. It could be seen that he was quite talented in this aspect. Xin Ejia walked in behind Lin. Seeing the situation in the courtyard, he immediately showed a satisfied smile. He nodded slightly and said, "Half a step to the right, hold the strength, and hit with an inch to recover the chi." "Good, that's it." The disciple in the courtyard performed the martial arts perfectly according to Xin Ejia's instructions. After finishing, he immediately saluted respectfully and said, "Disciple Jin Weifeng pays respect to Grand Master and Master." Lin Yi nodded with a smile and said, "Not bad. He's a good seedling. Ejia, this disciple of yours is not bad. Be careful, he'll surpass you soon." Xin Ejia laughed and said, "It's rare that Grand Master appreciates this kid. If he really can surpass me, it'll be a wonderful thing. However, I have Grand Master's protection. It'll be a little difficult for this kid to surpass me." Lin Yi couldn't help but smile. This Xin Ejia really liked telling the truth. However, what he meant was that he wanted Lin Yi to help improve his disciple Jin Weifeng's strength. To be honest, Lin Yi was quite optimistic about Jin Weifeng. As Xin Ejia's direct disciple, Jin Weifeng was lacking in cultivation resources in the past. After all, before he met Lin Yi, Xin Ejia was only in the early stage of Gold Core, which ranked the lowest in Jadian sect. It was not enough for him to take care of Jin Weifeng. However, Jin Weifeng was indeed a talented guy. He did not participate in the training in the secular world in order to break through to Foundation Perfected. After Lin Yi completed the Jadian sect skills, he succeeded in breaking through to Gold Core. Without Lin Yi's help, Xin Ejia would have been overtaken or even surpassed by his own disciple. Unfortunately, there was no more Gold Core. Otherwise, he could have trained Jin Weifeng well. Lin Yi sighed in his heart. However, he immediately felt something was wrong. "Jin Weifeng, you're already at the peak of late-stage Gold Core." Lin Yi didn't notice it just now. Now, he suddenly realized that Xin Ejia's direct disciple had already reached the peak of late-stage Gold Core. In an instant, Lin Yi's eyes were as cold as ice, because the first thing he thought of was that Jin Weifeng had defected to the center. In the entire ancient underworld, other than Lin Yi, only the center had the ability to greatly improve a person's strength in a short period of time. Lin Yi knew very well that he definitely did not help Jin Weifeng, so the only possibility was the center. Basically, All the disciples in the Jadian sect knew about the relationship between Lung Lung and Lin Yi. Those who did not participate in the training in the common world would also hear about it from the disciples who did. After all, it was related to their legendary grandmaster. Everything would be discussed. Hence, Jin Weifeng subconsciously used Lung Lung's ice-shattering physique as an example. It's already a heaven-defying talent to be able to improve your strength quickly without relying on external forces. You're too greedy to pursue the power of your attack, Lin Yi said with a smile. He pointed at Xianijia and said, "Your Shifu is really not bad. He wants you to level up as soon as possible. As your Shifu, I should really help you out." Xianijia nodded. Xianijia was instantly overjoyed. He was the one who knew Lin Yi's means the best. Therefore, compared to Jin Weifeng, he was even more proud. He said that just now because he wanted Lin Yi to help Jin Weifeng. If a person with a broken bamboo physique could not break through the barrier of a big level in one go, then it would be much more difficult than ordinary people to break through the barrier. The peak of the late Gold Core realm was not the bottleneck, but the great completion of the Gold Core realm. However, as long as Linny agreed to help, it would not be a problem. Silly boy, hurry up and thank Martial Grand Uncle for his guidance. Xianijia reminded Jin Weifeng with a smile. Jin Weifeng seemed to have woken up from a dream. He showed an ecstatic expression and thanked respectfully. "Thank you for your guidance, Martial Grand Uncle. You're welcome. This is also because of your hard work. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to help you even if I wanted to." Lin Yi smiled faintly. This was not nonsense. If Jin Weifeng did not advance to the peak of the late Gold Core realm by himself, Lin Yi would not be able to help him even if he wanted to without the Golden Core realm. "Go back to your room first. I'll protect you until you break through to the great completion of the Gold Core realm." Lin Yi already had a plan in mind. Jin Weifeng's broken bamboo physique was quite special. Now that he was at the peak of the late Gold Core realm, as long as he had enough spiritual qi, he could advance to the great completion of the Gold Core realm. For others, this level was considered a breakthrough, but for Jin Weifeng, it was just a natural advancement. Jin Weifeng naturally had no objection. He immediately returned to his room with Lin Yi. Lin Yi asked Jin Weifeng to sit down and start cultivating. Then he took out dozens of spirit jades and surrounded Jin Weifeng's body. He forcibly extracted the spiritual power from the spirit jades and instilled it into Jin Weifeng's body. In fact, this was the same as Lin Yi directly extracting spiritual power from the space of the jade pendant for Jin Weifeng. However, according to past experience, Lin Yi's current strength was only at the great completion of the Foundation Establishment realm. It was ineffective for the Gold Core realm, so he could only use spirit jades as a medium. Moreover, this method could only be used by people like Jin Weifeng, who had a broken bamboo physique. If it was someone else, they wouldn't be able to withstand this crude, force-feeding method. To some extent, Jin Weifeng's broken bamboo physique was somewhat similar to Wang Xinyan's sponge physique, but Lin Yi could only forcibly instill spiritual power like this. If Lin Yi wanted to forcibly instill Jin Weifeng from the early nascent soul realm to the great completion of the nascent soul realm, it would be impossible for Lin Yi to complete it unless he used the space of the jade pendant. The terrifying power of not having a bottleneck was displayed in an instant. The spiritual power of dozens of spirit jades was gathered by Lin Yi and directly made Jin Weifeng reach the great completion of the Gold Core realm. Jin Weifeng's body shook, and he immediately opened his eyes in surprise and said, "I'm already at the great completion of the Gold Core realm? Grandmaster, you're really amazing." If he had to describe it in one sentence, Jin Weifeng might say, "I closed my eyes and opened them, and I went from the peak of the Gold Core realm to the great completion of the Gold Core realm." Lin, he turned his hand and took out a nascent soul golden pill and handed it to Jin Weifeng and said, "Your physique is indeed strong. Because you have no bottleneck, you don't need to stabilize your strength. Now break through to the nascent soul realm in one go." Jin Weifeng saw the supreme grade nascent soul golden pill in Lin Yi's palm and was immediately shocked. "Grandmaster, this is too precious, and I have just reached the great completion of the nascent soul realm." Can I take the nascent soul golden pill now? Chapter 55:27. Others may not be able to do it, but for you, the faster the better. Don't forget the broken bamboo physique. When you encounter a big barrier, you have to break through it with irresistible force. The longer it takes, the more difficult it will be to break through the barrier. Lin E reminded. Lin E was not clear about the broken bamboo physique at first, but when Jin Weifeng broke through just now, his divine sense had been paying close attention to the condition of Jin Weifeng's body, so now he had a lot of understanding of the broken bamboo physique. As for Jin Weifeng's attitude, Lin E was really satisfied. This little guy was smart and calm enough. The key was that when he saw the best grade nascent soul golden pill, he did not show the slightest greed. His eyes were clear. To be honest, Lin E had already thought about training Jin Weifeng to be the next sect leader of Qingyun sect. After a slight pause, Lin E continued. One more thing, because of your special physique, you didn't need to take elixirs to break through before. In the entire gold core stage, this should be the first time you took elixirs, right? This is the best effect. Even if you don't have the broken bamboo physique, in this case, you don't have to worry about any problems at all. Jin Weifeng no longer hesitated when he heard that. He immediately took the nascent soul golden pill from Lin E with both hands and said respectfully, "Disciple, thanks Grandmaster for your cultivation. In the future, I will definitely contribute to Qingyun sect and strengthen our Qingyun sect." After a few simple words, Jin Weifeng raised his head and swallowed the nascent soul golden pill, and once again entered the state of cultivation. Linny was right, because Jin Weifeng did not have the existence of bottlenecks in the whole realm. So he finally broke through the barrier of the big realm. The faster he broke through, the greater the chance of success. When he just entered the great perfection of gold core, if he took the best grade nascent soul golden pill, breaking through to nascent soul was basically a sure thing. There was no need to worry at all. Watching Jin Weifeng breaking through to nascent soul, Lin E was not in a hurry to leave. He sat aside to protect Jin Weifeng and observe how powerful the broken bamboo physique was. As a result, it only took Jin Weifeng a little more than half an hour to condense the nascent soul golden pill. Lin E was also speechless. Even with the help of the best grade nascent soul golden pill, it was too fast. It was even faster than Lin E directly using the jade space to help others. More importantly, the nascent soul condensed by Jin Weifeng was definitely not the weakest. The most important thing was that Jin Weifeng condensed, Jin nascent soul condensed was definitely not the weakest. Tiet, nascent Jin Tituit. At the Tian sect, the Tian Su nascent and nascent he third sect at. After all, they had been brother sects for so many years. Since Blue Cloud sect was going to rise, he naturally had to bring Xuanji's sect along. The North Island was one of the three major sects, not the second. After exchanging a few pleasantries, Xi and Ijia went straight to the point and said to Hong Xianlei, sect leader of Xuanji's sect leader Hong, the three major sects of the North Island are one family. Have you ever considered returning to the North Island Alliance? There was a reason for that. After Xuanji's sect found Five Elements sect as their backing, although they were still in the North Island Alliance, they were already considered part of the Middle Island Alliance. Hong Xianlei was a little amused when he heard that. He chuckled and said, "Why? The Shangwan family can't protect you anymore? So, you want Xuanji's sect to go back and help you? Xi and Ijia, I didn't expect you to be such a person. It's fine if you're unlucky, but you want to drag Xuanji's sect down with you?" At the moment, the news that the two nascent soul cultivators of Qingyun sect were killed by Lin E had not spread yet. Firstly, it happened too soon. Secondly, it was a shameful thing, so Qingyun sect would only try to cover it up instead of spreading the news. It was completely different from them spreading the news that Lin E had killed the son of the sect leader. Therefore, Hong Xianlei only knew that Blue Cloud sect had offended Qingyun sect and that the situation was not good. He had no idea that the situation had been completely reversed. Moreover, as a sect that was not even one of the top 10 small sects, and had broken away from the three major sects of the North Island, their new allies would not take them seriously. Therefore, they were isolated from the world in terms of intelligence. Until now, Hong Xianlei still thought that Xianijia was still a cultivator in the gold core stage. After all, he himself was only in the peak gold core stage. Xianijia did not expect Hong Xianlei to be so rude. However, as a nice guy, Xianijia could understand Hong Xianlei's feelings. Therefore, he smiled patiently and said, "Sect leader Hong, you have no idea. Actually, Qingquan sect is not that great. Our grand uncle master of Blue Cloud sect has returned. The three major sects of the North Island will definitely do something in the Archean Grand Meeting this time. Today is the day to reinvigorate the North Island." Hong Xianlei sneered and said with disdain, "Xianijia, you're quite good at talking big now. Reinvigorate the North Island? Qingquan sect is not that great. I don't think the Qingquan sect is a big deal. They can crush the entire North Island Alliance with just a little finger. As for that senior granduncle of yours, he's just a primordial spirit in the great perfection of the building foundation establishment stage. He can kill him with a fart. You'd better put him in your pants and protect him." His words were extremely harsh. Xianijia would not be bothered if it was anything else. However, Hong Xianlei actually insulted Lin Yi with his words. This made Xianijia a little angry. "Hong Xianlei, be more respectful with your words. The Grand Uncle Master of my Blue Cloud sect is also the Grand Uncle Master of your Xuanji sect. Is it the rule of your Xuanji sect to disrespect your elders?" Although Xianijia was angry, he suppressed his anger and tried to reason with Hong Xianlei for the sake of the Brotherhood of the North Island. However, Hong Xianlei did not want to reason with Xianijia at all. He still said arrogantly, "Blue Cloud sect is Blue Cloud sect. Xuanji sect is Xuanji sect. It's fine if you like to make a weakling your ancestor, but don't drag Xuanji sect into it. To tell you the truth, Xuanji sect will be glorious if we follow the Five Elements sect. This time, the Five Elements sect has agreed to help Xuanji sect enter the top 10 small sects. As for who will replace, it's very likely to be your Blue Cloud sect. Don't blame me for not telling you when the time comes." After saying that, Hong Xianlei laughed out loud proudly. If he knew that Xianijia, who he looked down on and was suppressing his anger, was actually a nascent soul realm old monster who was almost a level higher than him, he might have died from laughing so hard. Xianijia was so angry that his face turned green. After all, he was not Lin Yi. If it was Lin Yi, he would have slapped this idiot who only knew how to laugh like an idiot. However, even if Xianijia had the ability to do so, he did not do it because he cared about the last bit of his relationship with Hong Xuanji. He just walked away without saying a word. Chapter 55-28. Since Hong Xianlei did not appreciate it, Xianijia did not want to say anything more to him. Originally, Blue Cloud sect was going to be the top of the four big sections. It was a piece of cake to give Xuanji sect a position among the 10 small sections. But now, Xuanji sect could do whatever they wanted. Qingquan sect was about to kneel down. What about Five Elements sect? At this time, in the Qingquan sect, Taoist transcending tribulation really wanted to kneel down. Looking at the two badly mutilated corpses on the floor of the hall, Taoist transcending tribulation was dumbfounded and didn't know what to say. Even Tribulation, immortal, had a deep sense of fear in his heart. These two were the third and fourth most powerful cultivators in Qingquan sect, second only to him. They were bitten by dogs in such a short time. Sect leader, the two elders were thrown out of the ruined town by Xianijia of Blue Cloud sect, and then they were bitten by the wild dogs. Xianijia left after he saw the two elders being bitten, so I had to wait for him to leave before I went to retrieve the bodies of the elders, so the disciple of Qingquan sect said in a trembling voice. This disciple was just a peripheral spy of Qingquan sect. His strength was not even in the gold core realm. It was too difficult for him to snatch the two elders from Xianijia. Even Xianijia could not defeat Xianijia in the past. It was hard for Xianijia. Lin, he just said to throw them out to feed the dogs, and Xi and Egia really did it. There were no dogs in the ruined town, so he could only throw them out of the ruined town. When the wild dogs bit them, Xi and Egia went back to report. The disciple who followed Xi and Egia could only watch as the two distinguished elders were fed to the dogs. It was the best he could do to retrieve the two corpses from the wild dogs after much effort. Poor two nascent soul realm cultivators. In fact, their primordial spirits were imprisoned by Lin Yi, but their bodies were not dead. In the end, they were bitten to death by the wild dogs. It was such a shame. Tribulation Immortal felt a little weak. He quickly sat down and calmed himself down. Then he waved his hand weakly and said, "You can leave now. Don't let others know about this." The disciple was in a difficult position. It would be difficult to not let others know about this matter. However, he couldn't disobey the sect leader's order. He could only respectfully say, "Yes, sect leader." Then he bowed and left. After a while, Tribulation Immortal finally came to his senses. He realized the situation was serious, so he immediately sent a letter to Tribulation Immortal Dunan, who was in charge of the sect. He reported the ins and outs of the matter in detail, hoping to Tribulation Immortal Du's instructions. The Chinquan sect had a total of 7 nascent soul cultivators, and 3 of them had already died before the nascent soul sect could Ming. Not to Kun, but the Wan. Not. Kunat to say that. To sect not, but more. Qian of Yang. Of E. It didn't seem wise for the Chinquan sect to become enemies with such a guy. While Jinrendu Jia was having a headache, Xi and Eija rushed back to the courtyard of Jadian's sect in anger. He happened to see Jin Weifeng, who had successfully broken through to the nascent soul realm. His anger turned into joy, and he said, "Weifeng, you've broken through to the nascent soul realm so quickly? Good lad. You really didn't disappoint, Master." Jin Weifeng hurriedly bowed and said, "It's all thanks to Marshal Granduncle and Master's guidance. Otherwise, I wouldn't have the achievements I have today." All right. I can't stand seeing you guys being so sentimental." Lin Yi hurriedly waved his hand to interrupt the master and disciple who were about to start praising each other. Instead, he asked, "Ijia, did you go to the Profound Theory sect when you came back?" Xi and Ijia was furious when he mentioned Xuanji faction. He scoffed and said, "Let's not talk about it. Marshal Granduncle, I made a mistake this time. I thought that Xuanji faction was still a brother sect of our Jadian sect. In the end, it was just my wishful thinking." Before Lin Yi could ask, Xi and Ijia told him about the process of going to Xuanji faction. He did not exaggerate or add any personal feelings. He was just narrating it truthfully. Lin Yi was not angry after listening to him. He just said indifferently, "Everyone has their own ambitions. Let them be." Lin Yi didn't have much of a good impression of the Xuanji sect in the first place, and now that they didn't appreciate it, it was even better that they didn't appreciate it. Lin Yi couldn't be bothered to play with them anymore. He'd just leave them be. As for Soaring Heaven sect, the Shengwan family would naturally inform them. There was no need for Xi and Ijia to go there. Moreover, Soaring Heaven sect and Jadian sect should be on good terms. They should not be as ignorant as Xuanji faction. Ijia, you don't have to worry about those things. Get ready. We, Jadian sect, are going to break through to the top 4. With Jin Weifeng, Jadian sect was qualified to become one of the top 4. Now, Lin Yi just had to wait for the opening of the Archaeozoic Grand Meeting. With Jin Weifeng and Lin Yi himself, Jadian sect had 3 nascent soul cultivators. They had the hardware to become one of the top 4. Of course, when Jin Weifeng was not around, Lin Yi did not care about this rule at all. When one's strength reached a certain level, this meaningless rule was actually meaningless. However, what Lin Yi was worried about was that he could not stay in Jadian sect on the North Island all the time. No matter how powerful a person was, if he left for a long time, his deterrence would be reduced. The Thousand Blades faction was a living example. Before the start of the Archaeozoic Grand Meeting, Xi and Ijia still had the opportunity to take the nascent soul golden elixir to break through to the full cycle of nascent soul. As for Jin Weifeng, Lin Yi did not plan to let him take the nascent soul golden elixir again. With broken bamboo physique, taking the nascent soul golden elixir was not only a waste, but it would also increase the difficulty of Jin Weifeng's breakthrough in the future. As long as Jin Weifeng continued to cultivate by himself, he could complete the major upgrade of the nascent soul stage. Finally, when he reached the full cycle of nascent soul, with the help of the elixir, he might be able to break through to profound ascension. How long had it been since there was a master of the profound ascension stage in the Archaeozoic underworld? With Lin Yi, Jin Weifeng might become the first profound ascension in the Archaeozoic underworld for thousands of years. It was because of Jin Weifeng's potential that Lin Yi wanted Jin Weifeng to become the next leader of Jadian sect. Therefore, what Lin Yi prepared for Jin Weifeng were top-grade spiritual jades. Anyway, spiritual jades were just numbers to Lin Yi. Giving Jin Weifeng tens of thousands of spiritual jades was enough for him to improve his strength quickly. Of course, spiritual jades were not endless. The main reason why Lin Yi was so generous was that spiritual jades could be recycled. When they were almost used up, he could directly throw them into the space of the jade pendant to recharge and then take out a new batch to use. It was almost inexhaustible. Chapter 55-29. Just like that, 2 days passed peacefully. All the sects in Ruin Town felt strange. Why didn't Qinkuan's sect cause trouble for Qingyun's sect? The news that Qingyun's sect Lin Yi killed the son of Qinkuan's sect leader was spread widely by Qinkuan's sect. But in the end, it was all bark and no bite. As the incident of Xian Yijie feeding the 2 Qinkuan sect elders to the dogs happened outside of Ruin Town, Qinkuan's sect deliberately hid the truth, so most of the sects didn't know about it. The few who knew about it, after receiving a warning from Qinkuan's sect, didn't dare to speak carelessly, or they might be wiped out at any time. Under such circumstances, most of the people were guessing that when the Azure Cloud sect went to the Shangwan clan to pay their respects, they were accepted by the Shangwan clan. Because of that, the Qinkuan sect decided to give face to the Azure Cloud sect and decided to wait until the immemorial grand meeting to kill the Azure Cloud sect with their ultimate move. The only thing that the onlookers couldn't figure out was, when did the weakest of the 4 Shangwan clan become so hot-blooded, and their reputation had become so useful that they could actually make Qinkuan's sect temporarily hold back? Just when all kinds of guesses were evolving and getting further and further away from the truth, something happened that made all the onlookers completely dumbfounded. It was still in the dining hall of an inn, and the fuse of this incident was still Duanmu Yu. Of course, Duanmu Yu was still eating and didn't mean to cause any trouble. But she still incurred the wrath of Qinkuan's sect. No one knew whether she was a femme fatale or just unlucky. Stinky, how could you eat here with such a clear conscience? Today, I will avenge my poor nephew. A burly middle-aged man came in and saw Duanmu Yu eating alone. His eyes suddenly turned red, and he rushed over with a roar. This middle-aged man was the late Jiedan stage of Qinkuan sect. He was also the second uncle of the son of the leader who was killed, Jinhua. Taoist master Du Jie had more than one woman and more than one son, but Jinhua's sister only had one son, the one who was killed by Lin Yi. Facing the unfathomable Lin Yi, Qinkuan sect no longer dared to touch Lin Yi and Jadian sect easily. Although Jinhua was not the top management of Qinkuan sect, but because of that relationship, Du Jie Jinren had specially warned him. Since Lin Yi and Jadian sect could not be touched, the grievance in Jinhua's heart could be imagined. He was still counting on his nephew to help him in the future, but now there was no hope at all. After all, even if his nephew wasn't particularly outstanding, he would still end up as the great elder in the end. Therefore, when he saw Duanmu Yu, the fuse that caused a series of tragedies, Jinhua was immediately enraged. With a loud roar, he rushed over. Duanmu Yu was just a disciple from the declining Yiling sect, and the Yiling sect backer was the Heaven Awakening sect, which was only slightly stronger than the Shangwan clan. Most importantly, Jinhua knew that the Heaven Awakening sect didn't really like the Yiling sect, and there was no way they would go against the Qinquan sect just for a disciple from the Yiling sect. Since he couldn't do anything to Lin Yi, he'd just have to deal with this damn girl first. Jinhua had a good plan in mind, so when he saw Duanmu Yu alone, he attacked without hesitation. In terms of strength, Jinhua was in the late Jidan stage, while Duanmu Yu was at the peak of the middle Jidan stage. The gap was quite small. However, Duanmu Yu was a genius disciple of Yiling's sect, while Jinhua relied on nepotism and resources to reach the late Jidan stage by Qinquan's sect. His combat strength was weaker than Duanmu Yu's. Therefore, when Duanmu Yu noticed Jinhua's attack, he didn't panic at all. He just easily put on a defensive and counterattack posture. However, Duanmu Yu didn't have a chance to attack at all. Someone rushed to block Jinhua's attack for him. How dare you? How dare you attack so casually in an inn? Do you still have any respect for the 4 major sects and families? With a loud shout, Shangwan Lian suddenly appeared and slapped Jinhua's face. Jinhua's face instantly turned 100 degrees, and his neck almost broke. Shangwan Lian extended his hand and grabbed onto Jinhua's collar, pulling him back. His other hand sent out another slap. The pitiful Jinhua's face instantly swelled up like a balloon. Shangwan Lian had already shown mercy. Otherwise, Jinhua's head would have exploded from that slap. You unruly thing! How dare you act violently in front of me? Do you believe that I won't slap you to death, you bastard? Shangwan Lian scolded as he continued to punch and kick Jinhua. Fortunately, Shangwan Lian didn't have the intention to kill. Otherwise, Jinhua would have been turned into a pile of mincemeat. Senior Shangwan, I know I was wrong. Please forgive me. Jinhua's face was swollen like a pig's head. It took him a lot of effort to squeeze out a sentence, but it was to beg for his life. Shangwan Lian didn't go too far. After all, Jinhua was just a small fry. Even if he killed him, it wouldn't show off Shangwan Liuyun's power. Casually throwing Jinhua on the ground like a broken sack, Shangwan Tianhua said coldly, "Seeing that we are both in the 4 major sects and families, I will let you live today. Hurry up and scram." Yes, yes, yes. I will scram now. I will scram now. Jinhua felt that his bones were about to fall apart. After he struggled to stand up, he nodded his head and said something vaguely. Then, he immediately turned around and ran for his life. Not to mention that Jinhua, a late-stage Gold Core Realm cultivator, even if he was facing a middle-stage Gold Core Realm cultivator from the Shangwan family, he wouldn't even dare to let out a fart. After all, others didn't know, but Jinhua was very clear that the Shangwan family was on the same side as Lin Yi. Otherwise, the 2 nascent Soul Realm cultivators who went to the Shangwan family to find trouble wouldn't have died so miserably. Of course, Jinhua would never have thought that the relationship between the Shangwan family and Lin Yi wasn't what he imagined. They had already become Lin Yi's underling. As for the onlookers at the side, they were already stunned. It was normal for Jinhua to not dare to provoke Shangwan Lian. After all, a Gold Core Realm cultivator wouldn't even have the ability to resist against a nascent Soul Realm cultivator. The key was that Jinhua was too cowardly, right? No matter what, he was the brother-in-law of the Qinquan sect leader. After being taught a lesson by Shangwan Lian, he didn't even dare to say a few words. He was just going to be cowardly and cowardly? Was this still the powerful and overbearing person from the Qinquan sect? From the situation just now, the Qinquan sect didn't seem to be as powerful as they had imagined, and the Shangwan clan didn't seem to be as weak as they had expected. This disciple felt that if he reported what he saw to the sect master, perhaps the Xuanji sect would pay attention to their strategy for the archaic meeting. However, after Hong Xianlei heard it, he glared and cursed. Bullshit! What the hell are you talking about? That useless Shangwan Lian dared to attack someone from the Qinquan sect? And Jinhua from the Qinquan sect? Stop fucking joking. Even if it was a Foundation establishment disciple from the Qinquan sect, would Shangwan Lian dare to attack him? But what I said is the truth. Jin Hua from the Chinquan sect was really badly beaten up by Shanghuan Lian. Although he didn't suffer any fatal injuries, he definitely lost all his face. Sect Master, do you think the Shanghuan clan has something to rely on? This disciple was loyal to the Xuanji sect and guessed the truth. Hong Xianlei sneered and said, "Rely on? I think the Shanghuan clan's reliance is a traitor like you, right? Speak. How many benefits did the Blue Cloud sect and the Shanghuan clan give you for you to advocate for them so desperately? You want me to return to the North Island, right? What a joke. You want to deceive me with such a small trick?" That disciple was stunned. He didn't expect that he would be bought over by the Shanghuan clan and the Blue Cloud sect when he came to report the news loyally. "Sect Master, what I said is the truth. This happened in front of everyone's eyes. Just ask around, and you'll know that I'm not lying." That disciple's words were reasonable. As long as they went to ask around, they would know that this news was absolutely true. However, Hong Xianlei already had a preconceived notion. He was certain that this disciple was lying to him. Seeing that this fellow was still trying to quibble, he immediately flew into a rage. "You spy! You're still trying to fool me at a time like this? You've really underestimated me. I will definitely not be deceived by a despicable person like you. Men, take him away and lock him up. After the archaic convention is over, bring him back to the sect and deal with him properly. Sect Master, this disciple is innocent." Sect Master, that unlucky disciple didn't know that no matter what he said, it would no longer change Hong Xuanlei's opinion of him. The farce in the Xuanji sect was not known by the people outside. As the archaic convention was about to begin, the market in the ruins town finally became really lively. At this time, all the sects and clans participating in the Archean Grand Meeting had basically arrived. Therefore, the trading in the marketplace had gradually become lively. Every clan and sect would trade some heavenly materials and earthly treasures at this time. If they were lucky, they might continue to improve their strength before the Archean Grand Meeting and fight for more benefits for their sections. That was Jin Weifeng's plan, so he went to the market early in the morning. He was now a master of the original infant stage, and although he didn't have any bottlenecks before he reached the peak of original infant stage, it would be impossible for him to increase his strength again within 2 or 3 days. After all, he wasn't Lin Yi, and he couldn't use those overbearing methods to directly extract the spiritual energy from the spiritual jades. Regular practice only made his speed a few times faster than others. After looking around, Jin Weifeng felt that there were still a lot of good things. However, after all, he had improved from the foundation establishment stage to the original infant stage in just over a year. He was still not confident in his judgment of these good things. Therefore, Jin Weifeng decided to go back and find Grandmaster Lin Yi and his master Exinejia to have a look together. Jin Weifeng immediately went back to talk to Lin Yi and Exinejia. Both of them immediately agreed. In the past 2 days, Exinejia had used the nascent soul golden core to break through to the great perfection of the original infant stage. Even without Lin Yi, he was already the top combat power in the archaic small underworld. Therefore, there was no point in continuing to cultivate in seclusion. It was not a bad idea to go out and have a look. Chapter 55:31. When the three of them went out, Duan Muyu, who had eaten for 4 hours, happened to leave. Lin Yi did not use his divine sense to observe the entire ruined town, so the two of them just walked past each other. If Duan Muyu knew about this, he would definitely extend his meal time to 6 hours. After leaving an inn, Lin Yi asked casually, "Ijia, did our Green Cloud sect have a habit of selling some things in the past?" Exine nodded and said, "Of course we do, but we only exchange some small things for some spiritual jades. Now that you've given the sect so many spiritual jades, we don't need to sell things anymore." Exine nodded and said, "Of course we do." After a short pause, Exine continued, "But before the grand event starts, selling some high-class things is also a demonstration of the sect's strength. The higher the level, the more it can reflect the sect's strength. After all, before the grand event starts, there's a voting session for all the sections. Selling high-class things in the marketplace is a disguised way to canvass votes. A voting session for all the sects? What's that? Lin, he asked curiously. He had never heard of such a thing before. Xianijia then remembered that his Grandmaster was not familiar with the rules of the Archean Grand Event, so he quickly explained, Grandmaster, it's actually not something important, so I didn't think of reporting it to you. The so-called voting session for all the sects is actually to determine the qualification to challenge. The so-called qualification to challenge referred to the possibility of challenging the top sections. The original Big Four and 10 small sects would automatically be qualified to challenge the Big Four and 10 small sects, but the 10 small sects might not necessarily be qualified to challenge the Big Four, and the other sects might not necessarily be qualified to challenge the 10 small sects. Take the Green Cloud sect as an example. As one of the old 10 small sects, they were qualified to challenge the 10 small sects without voting. However, when all the sects voted, they did not think that the Green Cloud sect was qualified to challenge the Big Four. Therefore, the Green Cloud sect must first challenge the sects that were qualified to challenge the Big Four through voting. After winning, they could continue to challenge the Big Four. If the Green Cloud sect was qualified to challenge the Big Four in the voting session, they could challenge the Big Four at the very beginning. Another example was the Thousand Blades sect. They weren't even part of the 10 small sects. After voting, they would be able to challenge the 10 small sects. If the Thousand Blades sect had the strength of the 4 big sects but was only qualified to challenge the 10 small sects, then they could only challenge them step by step. They couldn't challenge the 4 big sects. This rule basically allowed the sects that needed to challenge to advance step by step, while the Big Four and 10 small would have the advantage. After listening to Xianjia's explanation, Lin Yi thought about it carefully. He felt that this rule was not unreasonable, but it was not completely reasonable either. However, Lin Yi did not care. With his current strength, he could basically ignore these rules. Let's show them what we've got. Although Lin Yi could ignore the rules, it was better to avoid trouble if possible. Lin Yi nodded and continued. Other than enemies, there are allies and sects that are afraid of us among the sects and families that came to participate in the Archean Grand Meeting. There are also sects that are afraid of us. There are also many that we haven't dealt with before. It's necessary to show our strength. It'll be best if we can get the qualification to challenge the Big Four directly. It'll be a waste of time if we have to fight for the qualification. Granduncle is wise. Xianijia was not surprised at all. He would do whatever Lin Yi said. It was proven that it was never wrong to follow Lin Yi. It was Jin Weifeng's first time hearing Lin Yi say that he wanted to challenge the Big Four. Although he was looking forward to it, he could not hide his excitement when he heard it. Challenging the Big Four was the best stage for Jin Weifeng to repay his grand uncle and master. As they spoke, the three arrived at the outskirts of the market. Both sides of the road were filled with small stalls, but they were all in an orderly manner. Lin Yi's divine sense scanned through the stalls and shook his head in disappointment. There was nothing that caught his eye in these stalls. However, the deeper they went, the better the quality of the items. Xianjia saw Lin Yi's expression and quickly explained, Grand Uncle, the stalls outside are set up by some small sects and the 10 small sects candidates. Further in are the stalls that are qualified to challenge the 10 small sects and the 10 small sections. The items will be much better than the ones here. Lin Yi nodded faintly and did not say much. With his divine sense, he naturally knew that the items inside were much better than the ones outside. Unfortunately, in Lin Yi's eyes, there was not much difference. At his level, if it was not really good, it would not be able to arouse his interest. Xianjia continued. Actually, the real best items won't be put up for sale at this time. Only after the Archean Grand Meeting ends and the ranking is settled will all the sects take out their best items to participate in the final barter exchange meeting and the finale auction. Otherwise, if they take out their best items now, it'll be bad if they end up helping others and getting themselves into trouble in the end. Xianjia continued. That's right. Hearing this, Lin Yi could not help but smile. This statement was quite interesting, but it was also the truth. If Lin Yi took out a few nascent Soul Realm golden pills and sold them to rival sects like Chinquan's sect, would it not increase the difficulty of his challenge in the end? However, Lin Yi himself did not mind having a few more nascent Soul Realm masters as his enemies. It was just that this kind of behavior was too stupid and not something that a normal person would do. All right, let's find a place to set up our stall. I'm not interested in the items here. It's better to let them have a look, said Lin Yi with a smile. Then, he used his divine sense to look for an empty spot. Soon, he found a good spot that was unoccupied. That's it. Follow me. Lin Yi pointed at an empty spot in the distance and walked over with Xian Ijia and Jin Weifeng. When Lin Yi stopped at the empty spot, Xian Ijia could not help but twitch his mouth. He wanted to say something, but he did not say anything in the end. Lin Yi took out some medicinal pills that he did not need and passed them to Xian Ijia. You set up the stall? Jin Weifeng quickly took over and said, Let me do it. I've done things like setting up a stall before. What a joke. One of them was the Grand Master of Qin Yun's sect, and the other was the sect leader of Qin Yun's sect. If they really set up the stall themselves, it would be so embarrassing. Chapter 55-32. Genius 1, second remember if you want to go, to provide you with wonderful novels to read. Jin Weifeng had good eyesight, but he didn't think that he was now a Yuanying stage old monster of the Qingyun sect, which meant that he had the status of an elder. A dignified Yuanying stage elder of the Qingyun sect setting up a stall was actually not much different from the sect master. When Jin Weifeng checked the elixirs that Lin Yi gave him, he couldn't help but be secretly shocked. What kind of elixirs were these? Although there were no strategic elixirs like Yuanying stage golden elixirs that could directly enhance one's strength, there were many elixirs like the 5th grade recover pill that could save one's life. Moreover, they were all of the best quality. Hey, why did the 5 Elements sect set up a stall so early this year? Let's go and see if there are any elixirs. Seeing that there was a stall here, people immediately rushed over. Lin Yi's ears twitched. He suddenly remembered that the 5 Elements sect was also an alchemist, and that Master Chun was one of them. These people thought that they were from the 5 Elements sect who came out to buy elixirs, but he was too lazy to take the initiative to explain. Wow, this is the best 5th grade recover pill. Am I dreaming? The 5 Elements sect is really going all out this time. Brother, how much is this elixir? Some knowledgeable people saw the 5th grade recover pill at a glance and immediately rushed over with shining eyes. They couldn't wait to directly grab the elixir in their hands. This was a good thing that could save one's life at a critical moment. Jin Weifeng secretly glanced at Lin Yi, wanting to know how much Lin Yi priced these elixirs. Lin Yi really had no idea about the price of the ancient small world, so he immediately gave Jin Weifeng a look that said, "Do as you see fit." Jin Weifeng immediately knew what was going on. He immediately turned his head, stuck out his chest, and proudly stretched out a finger, saying, "This is the best 5th grade recover pill. 50 spirit jades, no bargaining." Lin, he almost spat out a mouthful of blood. No bargaining, your sister. This is the best recover pill, not the best cabbage. 50 spirit jades? Is it enough for the price of the materials? Lin, he looked at Jin Weifeng with an exasperated expression. He couldn't tell that this kid was a prodigal. A top-grade, 5th grade, great revitalizing pill was actually sold for only 50 spirit jades? Speaking of which, why did you have to stretch out a finger to sell it for 50 spirit jades? Representing 1 star? Normally, it should represent 100 spirit jades, right? Unknowingly, Lin, he had been led into a ditch by Jin Weifeng. Was there a difference between 100 spirit jades and 50 spirit jades? Wow, 50 spirit jades. There was a burst of exclamation from the crowd. Lin Yi reckoned that in the blink of an eye, the elixirs that he had taken out would be snatched up. However, the following words almost made Lin Yi have the urge to vomit blood again. So expensive? It's 50 spirit jades. This was what the passerby said. Exactly. So expensive. but the quality of the elixir is really good. 50 spirit jades for a life? It's really not expensive. This was what the passerby said. I'm going all out, even if I have to sell my pots and pans to buy one. But this elixir is really fucking expensive. Brother, aren't you being too black-hearted? The third passerby painfully took out 50 spirit jades and bought a 5th grade great revitalizing pill. He didn't forget to complain to Jean Weifeng. Lin, he was sweating profusely. 50 spirit jades is expensive? And black-hearted? Did you come out wearing sunglasses? It's black everywhere you look. If you think this is too expensive, please don't stop. Get lost. Of course, this was just Lin complaining in his heart. Anyway, what about spirit jades? Lin didn't care at all. These elixirs were useless to him. He just wanted to earn some reputation for the Green Cloud sect. But today, everyone seemed to think that the 5 Elements sect was selling elixirs. After all, except for the 5 Elements sect, no one would sell a lot of elixirs. At most, they would exchange 1 or 2 elixirs that they didn't need for themselves for spiritual jades. Lin, he didn't intend to explain. The 5 Elements sect selling elixirs had become a common thing in the Archean Grand Meeting. If he directly said that these elixirs were from the Green Cloud sect, people might even think that these elixirs were fake. At that time, it would be even harder to sell them. It was better to let someone buy them and study them first. When a reputation of the elixirs was established, the signboard of the Green Cloud sect would be erected tomorrow. Then, the original purpose would be achieved. Exine Agia said softly, Grandmaster, although the price set by Jean Weifeng is low, it's considered acceptable. After all, the other small sects don't have many spiritual jades, so their purchasing power is limited. Exine Agia said softly. There was something that Exine Agia didn't say. If it wasn't for the sudden appearance of Marshal Uncle Lin, the Green Cloud sect would probably be very poor now. Spiritual jades needed to be allocated and used in a planned way. Even if it was an elixir that cost 50 spiritual jades, they wouldn't be willing to buy it. Lin nodded helplessly. When he was in Taishi Island, Ling Tianyu and Wei Yidao fought with each other because of a little spiritual jades. It seemed that the resources of spiritual jades in the small Archean underworld were really scarce. Otherwise, that situation wouldn't have happened. Because of the shortage of spiritual jades, the purchasing power of spiritual jades was relatively strong. It doesn't matter. Anyway, these elixirs are not for earning spiritual jades. Let Jean Weifeng deal with it himself. Lin, he said lightly. He didn't care about the ridiculously low price anymore. In Lin Yi's opinion, the elixirs were even cheaper than cabbages. However, not everyone could buy them. There had never been such a scene of people rushing to buy them. However, the sales of the elixirs didn't stop. Slowly, there were deals. There were still some people who didn't have enough spiritual jades, so they left first to raise money. Some returned to their sects, and some borrowed money from their friends. Anyway, they would still come back later to buy the elixirs they wanted. Lin, he was naturally impatient to stay here. Seeing that there was no special situation, he left first. Exine Agia was worried about his precious disciple, so he stayed to accompany Jean Weifeng. Before the sky turned dark, all the elixirs were finally sold out. Jean Weifeng was counting the spiritual jades, while Exine Agia helped to clean up the stall. 2 people came to the stall in a hurry. Exine didn't raise his head and said casually, It's sold out today. If you want it, come back tomorrow. You guys are setting up a stall here? A familiar voice sounded above Exine Agia's head. The tone was filled with anger. Exine Agia raised his head and saw that it was indeed an old acquaintance. Hong Xianlei of Xuanji sect. Exine Agia's face immediately turned cold. He said indifferently, Is there a problem? Chapter 55-33. A Genius in a Second to Remember Love? We provide you with exciting novels to read. Hong Xianlei did not see what Exine Agia was selling, and it was no longer important. What was important was that Exine Agia was occupying the stall. Is there a problem? I'm telling you clearly. Remove the word emo. Hong Xianlei was furious. He sneered and said, Exine Agia, Don't tell me you don't know whose stall this is. Is this a place where you can set up a stall? Exai and Igia stood up straight and looked around nonchalantly. I don't see whose stall it is. Could it be Xuanji's sect? Hong Xianlei choked. Xuanji's sect was not even one of the top 10. How could it be so close to the center? Exai and Igia was obviously slapping his face. Exai and Igia, don't be so shameless. Hong Xianlei yelled angrily. I'm reminding you out of kindness because we used to be on the same side. And you're playing dumb with me? You're really dumb. Jin Weifeng came up and whispered to Exai and Igia. Master, where did this idiot come from? He's so noisy. Do you want me to chase him away? Don't talk nonsense. He's the leader of Xuanji's sect, the new right-hand man of Five Elements sect. Look at how cool he is. Exai and Igia said sarcastically. He was a nice guy, but he could not help but laugh at Hong Xuanlei's ignorance. Hong Xuanlei's face turned pale after being mocked by Exai and Igia. However, Exai and Igia still said calmly, we'll find out soon who's the fool. However, since this stall is empty, the Green Cloud sect will still set up their stall here tomorrow. If you have any objections, you can come again tomorrow. After that, Exai and Igia nodded at Jin Weifeng, signaling him to ignore Hong Xianlei and go back. Hong Xianlei gnashed his teeth and roared, Exai and Igia, don't say I didn't warn you. Go to the Five Elements sect right now and beg for forgiveness. For the sake of the North Island Alliance, I'll forgive you and put in a good word for you. Maybe the Five Elements sect will forgive you. Otherwise, you're dead. Exai and Igia didn't even turn his head. He just said indifferently, people with different beliefs can't make plans together. Hong Xianlei, just take care of yourself. You don't have to worry about the Azure Cloud sect. Putting in a good word for the Blue Cloud sect? Not to mention the fact that the Blue Cloud sect didn't need it at all. Even if it did, the Profound Design sect probably didn't have the qualifications to speak up in the Five Elements sect. Even if the Profound Design sect could speak up, Exai and Igia didn't think that Hong Xianlei would say anything good. Ever since Exai and Igia and Hong Xianlei parted on bad terms at Xuanji's sect, Exai and Igia had already seen through Hong Xuanlei's character. He had long since thought that Hong Xianlei was not a comrade who could stand by his side through thick and thin. Since that was the case, why should he care about him? However, it was a pity for the Profound Secret sect, which had been around for thousands of years. It turned out that it wasn't because they were selling elixirs to make people think that they were from the Five Elements sect, but that the stall actually belonged to the Five Elements sect. After Hong Xianlei left in a rage, he immediately went to the Five Elements sect to ask for an audience. However, with the status of the Profound Secret sect, it wasn't easy to meet the higher-ups of the Five Elements sect. Hong Xianlei didn't know whether he was lucky or unlucky to meet Lin Yi's old acquaintance, Master Chun. Master Chun, who was in a good mood, didn't think too much and agreed to meet Hong Xianlei. When Hong Xianlei saw Master Chun, he immediately bowed and greeted him. Then, he went straight to the point. Master Chun, I heard that the stall of the Five Elements sect was occupied in the market today. What? Who is so bold to occupy the stall of the Five Elements sect? Is it the Qingquan sect? Master Chun was slightly stunned. He wasn't as angry as Hong Xianlei thought. All of a sudden, Hong Xianlei didn't know whether he should hope for the Blue Cloud sect to appear or not. The next day, Hong Xianlei was dragged out by the people of the Five Elements sect and followed Master Chen to the market. Hong Xianlei couldn't resist in the slightest. Soon, they arrived at the stall of the Five Elements sect. However, the stall was surrounded by many cultivators, so they couldn't see what was going on inside. Get out of the way! Get out of the way! Master Chun from the Five Elements sect is here to sell medicine. The work of driving away the crowd was naturally done by Master Chen's followers. When the crowd heard that it was Master Chun from the Five Elements sect, they subconsciously made way for him. Originally, Master Chun did not intend to sell elixirs so early. Usually, the important people would appear last. However, now that there were people pretending to be from the Five Elements sect and snatching their stall, Master Chin naturally couldn't sit still. If he released the elixirs that he had prepared beforehand, he would definitely be able to win back the popularity of the crowd in an instant. Moreover, he would also be able to catch all the people pretending to be from the Five Elements sect in one fell swoop. Master Chin's plan was very good. As long as the elixirs appeared, everyone would revolve around him. At that time, he would humiliate the other party. Not only that, Master Chun could also announce on the spot that if anyone dared to vote for those people, the Five Elements sect would no longer sell elixirs to them. In this way, no one from that unknown sect would vote for them anymore. This idea was simply killing without leaving a trace. It was too awesome. Master Chin couldn't help but admire himself. How could he come up with such a brilliant idea? Under normal circumstances, the development of the situation would be exactly as Master Chun had predicted. This was the power of the Five Elements sect. Master Chin only dared to be so arrogant because he had the backing of the Five Elements sect. The problem was that what Master Chan was facing now was definitely not a normal situation. Seeing that the crowd had automatically made way for him, Master Chin held his head high and walked in as if he was looking at the road with his nostrils. At the same time, he said arrogantly, "Irrelevant people, get out of the way. I'm going to sell elixirs. These elixirs were personally refined by me. To be able to obtain them, you must have walked on the luck of God knows how many lifetimes." If it was in the past, when Master Chun said this, there would definitely be people coming out to support him. However, today, there was no response at all. In the past, it was not that the Five Elements sect did not sell elixirs. However, the quality and level of their elixirs were not satisfactory. How could they be better than the elixirs sold by the Blue Cloud sect? Today, Lin Yi had already announced the name of the Blue Cloud sect. With the good reputation from yesterday, the business was much better than yesterday. It's Master Chun from the Five Elements sect. He's also here to sell elixirs. Hurry up, since the Five Elements sect is here, the Blue Cloud sect will not be able to continue setting up their stall. Such good quality and not too expensive elixirs. If we don't buy them now, we might not have another chance. Those in front, please make way. Don't occupy the latrine without taking a shit. When the people in the periphery heard the name of the Five Elements sect, they all made way. However, the group of people in the innermost circle desperately wanted to complete the transaction as soon as possible. Yesterday, the reputation of the Blue Cloud sect's cheap and good quality elixirs had already spread far and wide. No one was stupid. They knew that now that the Five Elements sect was here, it was very likely that this would be the last chance to buy the elixirs of the Blue Cloud sect. Master Chin's face turned a little ugly. He was a dignified alchemy grandmaster of the Five Elements sect. Wherever he went, he would be sought after by people. However, he had never been ignored like this before. Irrelevant people, get out of the way. I'm going to sell elixirs. These elixirs were personally refined by me. To be able to obtain them, you must have walked on the luck of God knows how many lifetimes. Master Chin repeated what he said just now. However, by doing so, he unavoidably weakened his imposing manner. The people in the periphery who made way for him now looked at him in a somewhat different way. When Hong Xianlei saw that this wasn't a solution, he immediately gave Master Chin's lackeys a look. The two of them walked past Master Chan from the left and right, pushing the people in the innermost circle away with their hands. Get out of the way! Get out of the way! How dare you obstruct the Five Elements sect's business? Which sect or family are you from? Master Chin's lackeys roared loudly, truly frightening some of the people. Chapter 55:35. Get out of the way. Although the item is good, your life is more important. Don't bring trouble to your own sect. Someone on the side also tried to persuade the people inside in a low voice. It was unknown whether they were genuinely concerned about the people inside, or because they couldn't buy the elixirs from the Blue Cloud sect, so they didn't want the people inside to buy them. In any case, with the help of his followers, Master Chin aggressively squeezed his way into the crowd inside. However, just as he was about to say a few words to show off his identity, he saw Lin Yi behind the stall with a playful expression. He was immediately dumbfounded. Hey, isn't this Master Chun of the Five Elements sect? I heard that you had already retired from alchemy. How come you're back in Jianghu? Lin Yi looked at Master Chun with a smile that wasn't a smile and casually mocked him. Master Chun immediately felt so embarrassed that he wanted to die. In his heart, he cursed that bastard Hong Xianlei. Wasn't he fucking setting him up? It was actually Lin Yi here. He couldn't wait to avoid him, but this time, he took the initiative to come to him. Was he courting death? Hearing Lin Yi's subtle mockery, Master Chun was incomparably embarrassed. However, he didn't dare to retort, for fear that Lin Yi would reveal what had happened last time. He could only snort and say, "This was refined by me in the past. Why can't it be?" "Oh, so it was refined by you in the past, Master Chun. I thought you would say that it was refined by your disciple, so the quality would be so poor." Lin Yi had a look of realization on his face as he continued to mock Master Chun mercilessly. Master Chin's face turned red. He really wanted to say that it was refined by his disciple, but before he came in, he had already said that it was personally refined by Master Chin twice. He really didn't have the face to say that it was refined by his disciple. Impudent! Who do you think you are? How dare you speak to Master Chin like that? Hong Xianlei still didn't seem to have a good sense of judgment. In order to curry favor with Master Chun, he jumped out and pointed at Lin Yi as he roared. Who doesn't know that Master Chin's products are the highest quality? How can a small sect like yours compare? Hurry up and scram. Lin Yi didn't have much of a reaction, but Master Chun really wanted to slap this idiot who had been tricking his teammates for 30 years. Can't you see that every one of Lin Yi's pills is of the highest quality? Compared to Lin Yi, even Master Chun had to admit that the quality of his pills is trash. Glaring at Hong Xianlei fiercely, Master Chun turned his head and said in a muffled voice, "I forgot that I have an important matter to attend to today. I will take my leave first." Seeing that Master Chun turned around and left, Lin Yi just smiled faintly and said, "Remember to take your dog away, lest it barks randomly here." Hong Xuanlei's face darkened. So, Lin Yi and Xianijia ignored him just now because they treated his words as a dog barking. Anyhow, he was the sect master of Xuanji's sect. He absolutely couldn't tolerate this. "Go!" Master Chun shouted angrily without turning his head back. Hong Xianlei immediately lowered his head and glared at Xianijia and Lin Yi with resentment. Then, he followed behind Master Chun and left the place. Seeing that the people of Five Elements sect had left, the surrounding audience immediately surrounded them again. Although they didn't understand what was going on, the most important thing was to buy the highest quality pills of Blue Cloud sect first. After walking for a distance, Hong Xianlei approached Master Chun and asked in a low voice, "Master Chun, what's going on? Why are you leaving just like that? Aren't you going to punish them for occupying our Five Elements sect stall?" Master Chun turned around and slapped Hong Xuanlei's face. He roared angrily, "You fucking tricked me, didn't you? You knew that they were selling pills at such a low price, yet you still urged me to set up a stall. Don't you know the rules of alchemy? In this case, since they set up a stall, I can't do it anymore." Hong Xianlei wanted to cry, but had no tears. Just as he moved his face closer to Master Chun, he was slapped in the face. Something was wrong. Facing Master Chin's anger, Hong Xianlei was also puzzled. He could only carefully say, "Master Chun, please calm down. I really didn't know about this rule. Moreover, I didn't see them setting up a stall yesterday. In fact, this so-called rule was simply nonsense." Master Chun didn't have the nerve to mention that the quality of Lin Yi and the others were all of the highest quality and he couldn't compare to them. He also didn't have the nerve to say that he had suffered losses at the hands of Lin Yi. Thus, he could only make up some random excuse. It doesn't matter if you don't know or not. Master Chun indifferently glanced at Hong Xianlei and said coldly, "You can get lost now. Don't ever appear in front of me again. I don't want to see you again." These words were like a bolt from the blue. Hong Xianlei was immediately dumbfounded. Seeing that Master Chun had already turned around and left, Hong Xianlei hurriedly chased after him and begged, Master Chun, please calm down. I was just thinking for our 5 elements sect. I saw that someone had occupied our 5 elements sect stall, so I was anxious and didn't inquire about it clearly. Enough. Who the fuck is talking about us? Who do you think you are? How dare you talk about our 5 elements sect? Master Chun mercilessly shouted angrily and forcefully interrupted Hong Xuanlei's words. I'm not Master Chen's junior. Hong Xianlei wanted to explain, but his words were already somewhat incoherent. What Master Chen meant was to directly expel the Xuanji sect. It wasn't easy for him to find the 5 elements sect as his backing. Hong Xianlei didn't want to be driven out just like that. Master Chun was infuriated when he thought about it. He conveniently slapped Hong Xuanlei's face again. Then, he didn't want to talk nonsense with him anymore. He swaggered off with his followers. Hong Xianlei really wanted to cry this time. Originally, he wanted to mess with the Blue Cloud sect and conveniently show off in front of the higher-ups of the 5 elements sect. The result was completely different from what he had imagined. The script wasn't written like this. However, Hong Xianlei didn't dare to continue following Master Chen anymore. Before he understood the reason, following Master Chen would only be asking for trouble. Moreover, with Master Chen's status in the 5 elements sect, his words were basically no different from the words of the sect master. Especially when this matter was only related to the Xuanji sect. Hong Xianlei, who returned to the Xuanji sect alone, immediately gathered his trusted subordinates to discuss this matter. Tell me, how should we deal with this matter of the 5 elements sect? An elder hesitated and said, Sect Master, there seems to be some secret between the 5 elements sect's Master Chun and the Blue Cloud sect. The more our Xuanji sect interferes in this matter, the less benefits we will get. Moreover, since Master Chun has already said that he wants to expel our Xuanji sect, then in this time's immemorial grand meeting, we basically can't rely on the 5 elements sect as our backing anymore. Chapter 55-36. Another elder said, Sect Master, our Xuanji sect is aiming for the top 10. If we don't have a sect to rely on, we won't be able to enter the top 10. So, no matter what, we must find a sect to rely on. Since the 5 elements sect can't do it anymore, let's find a new sect to rely on while we still have time. Hong Xianlei rubbed his forehead and said, Who doesn't know the importance of a sect to rely on? But there are only 4 sects in total. Tell me, which sect should we look for? The Heaven and Earth sect is out of the question. We wanted to go to the Heaven and Earth sect from the beginning, but they didn't want to talk to us at all. The elder smiled bitterly and said, Let's not talk about the 5 elements sect. The Heaven Awakening sect, which is ranked 3rd, doesn't have any relationship with us, and they're the furthest away from us. Even if we want to rely on them, they might not be willing to accept us, especially since we have some conflicts with a sect under the Heaven Awakening sect. Why don't you just say that the Shangguan clan is the only one left? Hong Xianlei was in a bad mood. He was the one who took the Xuanji sect and left the Shangguan clan. Plus, he had just had a conflict with the Blue Cloud sect, so he couldn't bring himself to go back to the Shangguan clan. Sect Master, the only sect that can accept us is the Shangguan clan. It seems like the Shangguan clan has become a lot stronger recently, and they don't even give face to the Heaven and Earth sect. Going back to the Shangguan clan is a good choice. The elder was a reasonable person. At least, he had a clearer view of the situation than Hong Xianlei. Hong Xianlei nodded his head and said, It's not impossible for us to return to the Shangguan clan. I think the Shangguan clan will welcome us with open arms. After all, they're the weakest among the 4 big clans, and they don't have many powerful sections. Our profound G-sect still has a golden core cultivator and 2 peak late golden core cultivators. It will be a great help to the Shangguan clan. If Shangguan Qingyan heard this, he would definitely ask Hong Xianlei where he got his confidence from. In the archaic grand meeting, the decisive factor was always the nascent soul realm cultivators. A few golden core realm cultivators could only wave the flag and cheer. After discussing with his 2 trusted subordinates, Hong Xianlei finally decided to return to the Shangguan clan as soon as possible. If he waited for the news of the 5 elements sect expelling the profound formula sect to spread, the profound formula sect status would drop even further. With the help of Lin Yi's nascent soul and golden core, Shangwan Qingyun had already broken through to the nascent soul great perfection in the past 2 days. He also had a complete mental cultivation technique to cultivate. Just when he was feeling complacent, he heard that the profound theory sect master, Hong Xianlei, had come to visit, so he immediately met Hong Xianlei. After exchanging a few pleasantries, Hong Xianlei went straight to the point and said, Shangwan clan leader, apart from paying a visit to clan leader, this junior is here to pay a visit to the Shangwan clan, so that our profound secret sect can return to the Shangwan clan. Oh, I'm naturally happy that Sect Master Hong has such an idea. However, I don't know why Sect Master Hong suddenly wants to return to the Shangwan clan, Shangwan Qingyun said with a smile. In his heart, he was wondering if the profound formula sect return was the Blue Cloud sect's idea. Previously, Xianijia had sent a message to Shangwan Qingyun, asking him to inform the Soaring Heaven sect to advance and retreat together in the archaic meeting. Of course, to the outside world, it was still said that the Shangwan clan was the Soaring Heaven sect's backer. Now that the profound formula sect's Hong Xianlei was here, could it be for the same reason? If it was really someone from the Blue Cloud sect who asked Hong Xianlei to come, Shangwan Qingyun wouldn't neglect him. Because of this, Shangwan Qingyun was very polite and enthusiastic towards Hong Xianlei. Hong Xianlei let out a soft sigh and said with a melancholy expression, Shangwan clan leader, to be honest, after our profound formula sect joined the Five Elemental sect, we weren't welcomed by them at all. Furthermore, there are many sects and families under the Five Elemental sect, and in terms of seniority, our profound formula sect is ranked at the bottom. Therefore, not only does the Five Elemental sect not value us, even the other sects and families can order us around. Thinking about how the Shangwan clan took care of our profound formula sect in the past, compared to the Five Elemental sect, it's like the difference between heaven and earth. This junior feels very uneasy, and I feel that returning to the Shangwan clan is the right way. Shangwan Qingyun was slightly startled. Although Hong Xianlei was very humble, if it was really the Blue Cloud sect who asked the profound formula sect to return, Hong Xianlei only needed to mention the Blue Cloud sect. Why would he bring up so many useless things? It's a good thing that sect leader Hong is able to return. Let's not talk about the past, and let's advance together in the future. Shangwan Qingyun didn't know what else to say, so he could only comfort him. Hong Xianlei was immediately overjoyed when he heard this. As he expected, the Shangwan clan was very happy for the profound formula sect's return. After all, the Shangwan clan still needed to strengthen themselves. Shangwan clan leader is truly a wise and far-sighted representative. Under your wise leadership, our Shangwan clan will definitely rise to the next level in this archaic grand meeting. Hong Xianlei smiled, his eyes squinted, and words of flattery came out of his mouth. Not at all, not at all. Sect leader Hong is too polite. Shangwan Qingyun quickly waved his hand. He was very clear about his own capabilities. Perhaps the Shangwan clan could really rise to the next level in this archaic grand meeting, but it definitely wouldn't be because of Shangwan Qingyun. Just when Shangwan Qingyun was about to compliment Lin Yi so that Hong Xianlei, who had been pulled back by the Blue Cloud sect, could put in a good word for him, Hong Xianlei suddenly changed the topic. Family leader, you might not know this, but this time, Xianijia from the Blue Cloud sect secretly came to look for me. He wanted me to return to the profound formula sect. This is outrageous. Hong Xianlei slightly lowered his voice, and his expression showed that he was feeling indignant for Shangwan Qingyun. Shangwan Qingyun was stunned, and he didn't know what to say. He thought to himself, if your profound formula sect wasn't pulled back by the Blue Cloud sect, I wouldn't even care about a traitor like you. Of course, Hong Xianlei didn't know what Shangwan Qingyun was thinking, and he continued to make things difficult for the Blue Cloud sect. Family leader, who do you think Xianijia is? He actually dared to bypass our Shangwan clan and secretly try to rope me in. What a joke. This junior has always been loyal to the family leader. So how could I be influenced by such a small character? This junior's decision to return to the profound formula sect was made after careful consideration. Shangguan Qingyun's expression turned cold. He casually picked up the teacup and took a sip, then asked indifferently, "What is sect leader Hong's decision?" Hong Xianlei thought that Shangguan Qingyun's expression turned ugly because he was dissatisfied with the Blue Cloud sect. He was even more delighted in his heart. Chapter 55:37. Thus, Hong Xianlei continued to stir up trouble. Patriarch, you might not know this yet, but the Azure Cloud sect has been occupying the Five Elements sect stall for the past 2 days. Today, they've already been caught red-handed by the Five Elements sect. Needless to say, the Five Elements sect will definitely hold the Azure Cloud sect accountable. Our Shangguan family can't be the scapegoat for the Blue Cloud sect. Let's take this opportunity to expel the Blue Cloud sect to avoid any trouble. What do you think, family head? Shangguan Qingyun said expressionlessly. I think Sect Master Hong can go back now. I won't send you off. Hong Xianlei was dumbfounded. Weren't they having a good conversation just now? Why did they suddenly turn hostile? Looking at the teacup in Shangguan Qingyun's hand, he knew that Shangguan Qingyun was sending him off. Family head, this junior is thinking for our Shangguan family. Hong Xianlei felt that something was wrong, so he quickly tried to salvage the situation. Shangguan Qingyun snorted and interrupted him. The Shangguan family is the Shangguan family, and the Xuanji sect is the Xuanji sect. Sect Master Hong, please don't say anything about our Shangguan family. We aren't that close. Why do these words sound so familiar? Although they weren't exactly the same, the meanings seemed to be the same. Hong Xianlei was a little anxious, so he quickly stood up and said, Family head, did this junior say something wrong? Please tell me. Hong Xianlei was completely confused. From Shangguan Qingyun's tone, he seemed to have accepted the Xuanji sect, but now it seemed like he was rejecting it. What did this mean? You didn't say anything wrong. I was being too tactful. Shangguan Qingyun paused for a moment, then looked at Hong Xianlei and shouted, Get lost. Do you understand now? Hong Xianlei was immediately embarrassed. He understood that Shangguan Qingyun really didn't want to see him anymore. Although he didn't understand what was going on, he could only leave with his tail between his legs. Who do you think you are? You're just one of the 4 weakest clans. Why are you acting so arrogant? You've offended both the Cosmos sect and the Five Elements sect. Just wait for your sect to be annihilated. Your daddy, lower my status to join your sect, but you still dare to treat me like this. In the future, even if you all kneel down and beg me, I won't go back. Upon leaving the Shangguan clan's gate, Hong Xianlei immediately started cursing in a low voice. His voice was only loud enough for himself to hear. If anyone from the Shangguan clan heard it, the Xuanji sect would be in big trouble. Hong Xianlei's followers were waiting outside, so they didn't know what was going on. They couldn't hear Hong Xianlei's mutterings, but it was obvious that the Xuanji sect had failed. Sect Master, it's fine if the Shangguan clan doesn't want to accept us. After all, they're the weakest of the 4 great clans. Let's just try the Universe sect. The follower took half a step forward and whispered to Hong Xianlei. Hong Xianlei sighed and said, I also want to join the Qinkuan sect, but they didn't even pay attention to us before. Will it make any difference if we go now? Master, did you forget that when we were still in the Five Elements sect, you were friends with a senior disciple who was in charge of the Qinkuan sect? Although you were using the name of the Five Elements sect, you were the one who established the relationship with them. Why don't you go and try? The follower had been following Hong Xianlei for a long time, so he knew who Hong Xianlei had been in contact with. So he immediately reminded him. Hong Xianlei's eyes lit up. That makes sense. If we go alone, the Qinkuan sect might not pay attention to us. But if we have someone we know to introduce us to, then it'll be completely different. Well done. If we succeed, I'll remember your merit. After finding a new way out, Hong Xianlei immediately changed his direction. He went to the Qinkuan sect to look for the manager he was familiar with. However, when the manager heard that Hong Xianlei wanted to join the Qinkuan sect, he immediately rejected him. Even fair-weather friends were considered friends. If it was some trivial matter, then it was fine. But if they accepted the traitor of the Shangguan clan, the Xuanji sect, wasn't that just asking for trouble? What if they attracted Lin Yi's revenge? After Jin Hua suffered a loss at the hands of Shangguan Luyun, the Qingquan sect had already warned all of their disciples that they were forbidden from interfering with anything related to the Shangguan clan or the Blue Cloud sect. Those who violated the rules would be punished severely. How could this be? How could this be? Hong Xianlei muttered to himself in a daze as he walked. 3 of the 4 great sects had already clearly rejected the profound secret sect's offer to join them, so the only choice left was the Heaven Enlightenment faction. Although Hong Xianlei didn't have many acquaintances in the Awakening Heaven faction, and he even had some conflicts with a small sect under the Awakening Heaven faction, he had no other choice but to send a letter to the Awakening Heaven faction. However, he was rejected without a doubt. The Awakening Heaven faction didn't need a sect like the Xuanji sect, which was like a burden. What's the problem? It's impossible that none of the 4 great sects and families want our Xuanji sect. In terms of strength, our Xuanji sect is much stronger than most of the sects and families that aren't part of the 4 big and 10 small sects and families. Hong Xianlei was extremely depressed. If he knew this would happen, he would have just stayed in the North Island Alliance peacefully. Sectmaster, don't you still have a spy in your hands? Perhaps it's not a spy from the Blue Cloud sect, but a spy from the Shangguan clan. That's why the Shangguan clan rejected our profound G sect's offer to join them. Hong Xianlei's follower could be considered as doing his best. When Hong Xianlei was at a loss of what to do, Hong Xianlei was able to come up with some ideas. That's right. If you didn't mention it, I would have almost forgotten about it. Hong Xianlei clapped his hands, and an excited expression appeared on his face. Let's go back quickly. It doesn't matter if this guy is a spy from the Azure Clouds faction or the Shangguan clan. We can only try to save a dead horse. If we rely on this spy to mediate between us, we might still have a chance. Hong Xianlei was in despair, but it seemed like there was a chance to turn things around. He immediately sped up and returned to the Xuanji sect, bringing out the disciple who had been locked up. Lianjia, I don't care if you're a spy from the Shangguan clan or the Azure Clouds faction. From now on, as long as you can complete the mission I've given you, I'll let bygones be bygones. Hong Xianlei sat on a chair, pretending to be amiable as he spoke to the innocent disciple, Lianjia. Lianjia was still confused. He had only come back to report some information. How did he end up being locked up like a spy? What was going on? Sect Master, disciple isn't a spy. Disciple's heart is only for the Xuanji sect. Li Yunjia tried to defend himself. Hong Xianlei raised his hand and made a gesture, then said, Fine. I believe you're not a spy. How about this? I have something that fits your original mission. I'm sure you'll be happy to hear it. Chapter 55:38. Li Yunjia wanted to explain, but he was interrupted again. Now that the Xuanji sect is preparing to return to the North Island Alliance, I need you to contact the Shangguan clan and the Blue Cloud sect. After all, we had some misunderstandings before, and it's not convenient for me to show myself. As long as you can repair the relationship between the Xuanji sect and the 2 clans, and help the Xuanji sect return to the North Island Alliance, it'll be a great achievement for you. Li Yunjia said in a muffled tone, For the sake of the sect, disciple will go through fire and water without hesitation. But sect master, this has nothing to do with disciple's original mission. No, disciple didn't have any mission at all. Hong Xianlei sneered in his heart. You've already spilled the beans, and you're still trying to deny it? But I still need you, the spy, to help me, so I'll let you go for now. Ha. Fine, whatever you say, it's all up to you now. Don't disappoint me. You can go now. Hong Xianlei let out a carefree laugh, then sent Li Yunjia away. Li Yunjia walked out of the Xuanji sect's encampment in a daze, then walked towards the Blue Cloud sect with a sad face. He wasn't a spy. He didn't know anyone from the Blue Cloud sect, let alone the Shangguan clan. Although the Blue Cloud sect status was slightly higher than the Xuanji sects, they were both from a North Island Alliance, so they should be easier to talk to than the Shangguan clan. Therefore, Li Yunjia subconsciously walked towards the Blue Cloud sect. The disciple guarding the entrance of the Jadian encampment saw Li Yunjia dressed in Xuanji sect's uniform. Without waiting for him to come near, he shouted, "Halt! This is already Jadian encampment. Unauthorized personnel are not allowed to come near." Li Yunjia quickly smiled apologetically and said, "Fellow disciples, I'm a disciple of the Xuanji sect, and I'd like to see sect master Exinijia. Can you help me inform him of my arrival? Sect master Exin isn't here. Please come back tomorrow." The disciple still didn't allow Li Yunjia to come closer, so he sent him away. Li Yunjia tried his best to persuade Qingyun's sect, but the disciples guarding Qingyun's sect only said that Exinijia was not back yet and asked Li Yunjia to leave immediately. Li Yunjia had no choice but to leave Qingyun's sect's encampment. Looks like sect leader Exin really didn't come back. There's no need for these Blue Cloud sect senior brothers to lie to me. I better find something to eat first and wait for sect leader Exin to come back. Li Yunjia rubbed his stomach and muttered softly. After being locked up as a spy for the past few days, no one had come to deliver food to Li Yunjia. At this moment, Li Yunjia was really starving. If it wasn't for his sect's mission, he would have gone to find something to eat when he came out. Li Yunjia quickly arrived at an inn's dining hall. He picked an empty seat at the entrance and sat down. He casually ordered some food that could be served immediately and started wolfing down the food. At the same time, he had to pay attention to see if Exinijia would pass by the entrance. Have you heard? The Xuanji sect was expelled by the 5 Elemental sect. What a shame. I've never seen anyone being expelled by a sect that relied on their sect before the Archaic Grand Meeting. I wonder how the Xuanji sect offended the 5 Elemental sect. A few cultivators who were sitting 2 tables away from Li Yunjia were chatting with each other. Li Yunjia was startled by their conversation. Is that so? I heard that the Xuanji sect wants to return to the Shangguan clan. It's because they were expelled by the 5 Elemental sect. What a shame. If I was the Shangguan clan's clan chief, I would never accept a traitor like this. He went to the 5 Elemental sect for the sake of his reputation. But now that he's down on his luck, he wants to return to the Shangguan clan. You're right. The Shangguan clan's clan chief didn't accept the Xuanji sect. And guess what happened next? The Xuanji sect actually wanted to join the Cosmos sect, but they were directly expelled. That's not all. I heard that the Xuanji sect wanted to join the Enlightening Heaven faction, but the Enlightening Heaven faction didn't want to bother with them at all. Now, the Xuanji sect is just a joke in the underworld of the immemorial ancient era. The few cultivators sitting at the table were chatting with each other, and their voices weren't low. Not only Li Yunjia could hear them, everyone in the hall could hear them. Li Yunjia was struck dumb. His mouth that was filled with food was wide open, and the food that he didn't swallow fell out from his mouth. The Xuanji sect was already in such a miserable state. It had only been a few days, but how did my sect end up like this? No wonder Sect Chief Hong asked me to repair my relationship with the Shangguan clan and Blue Cloud sect. Li Yunjia really wanted the best for the Xuanji sect. After learning about the Xuanji sect predicament, he was determined to complete the mission. No matter what, Li Yunjia was still a senior disciple in charge of the Xuanji sect, and although he was nothing in front of Hong Xianlei, the fact that he was chosen to participate in the immemorial grand meeting already proved how outstanding he was. No, I don't have the time to sit here and eat. I need to find Sect Chief Xin as soon as possible, or else the Xuanji sect situation will only get worse. Li Yunjia spat out the food in his mouth and muttered to himself. After that, he quickly stood up and walked out of the hall. Ruin Town wasn't that big anyway. It wouldn't take too much time to run around. Right after leaving the hall, Li Yunjia was pleasantly surprised to see Exinijia, the Blue Cloud sect chief, and Jin Weifeng were accompanying Lin Yi towards him. Li Yunjia wouldn't miss such a good opportunity. While Exinijia and Lin were chatting casually, someone suddenly rushed towards them and knelt down. Exinijia was shocked. Lin Yi had long since noticed that Li Yunjia was acting a little strange. However, Li Yunjia didn't have any hostility towards him, and his cultivation level was only at the Foundation Establishment Great Circle. so Lin he didn't pay any attention to Li Yunjia's actions. It was only until Li Yunjia knelt down in front of him that Lin Yi gave him an indifferent glance, then turned his gaze away. Obviously, he didn't want to talk. Xian Yijia let out a dry cough. Since Grandmaster Xian didn't want to talk, then he had to do it himself. Who are you? What are you trying to do? Li Yunjia knelt on the ground and cried. Sect Chief Xian, I'm a disciple in charge of the Xuanji sect. I heard that our Xuanji sect is in a difficult situation right now, so I hope Sect Chief Xian can put in a good word for us for the sake of the North Island Alliance, so that the Shangguan clan can accept our Xuanji sect again. Xian Yijia looked troubled. He was very angry at Hong Xianlei, but his heart softened when he heard that the North Island Alliance was of the same lineage. At the end of the day, Xian Yijia was still a kind-hearted old man. Jin Weifeng sneered when he saw that his master wasn't saying anything. Now you're talking about the North Island Alliance? What were you doing before? It's not like my master didn't go to Hong Xianlei, but what did Hong Xianlei say? Since Hong Xianlei is so capable, let him find a way to deal with it himself. Chapter 55-39. After reaching the nascent soul stage, Jin Weifeng had become a real senior in Green Cloud sect, so he knew a lot of things, such as the whole process of Xian Yijia looking for Hong Xianlei. Because of this, Jin Weifeng hated Xuanji sect so much. Xian Yijia was Jin Weifeng's teacher, who was Hong Xianlei. Li Yunjia burst into tears. Senior, I'm just a disciple of Xuanji sect. I can't interfere with what sect leader Hong does, but I just want Xuanji sect to get through this, that's all. Lin felt that this guy looked a little like Xian Yijia when he first met him. Seeing that Xian Yijia was looking at him, his heart softened. He waved his hand and said, Let's bring him back first. Don't cry here. Aren't you afraid of being laughed at? Those who don't know might think that we're ganging up on him. In fact, Lin, he was not afraid of being laughed at. It was just that it was inconvenient to talk on the street. So he gestured for Xian Yijia to bring Li Yunjia back to Green Cloud Sex Base. After returning to Green Cloud Sex Base, Li Yunjia was still kneeling on the ground and refused to get up. Lin Yi and the rest could only let him be. Tell me what's going on. Xian Yijia had an idea of what was going on, but he didn't dare to make the decision himself. He could only let Li Yunjia continue to complain, and maybe Lin Yi would agree to the return of Xuanji sect. Li Yunjia also understood that Hong Xianlei must have severely offended the Blue Cloud sect, so he decided not to mention Hong Xianlei at all. He continued to talk about the Profound Secret sect, hoping that the Blue Cloud sect would help the Profound Secret sect out of consideration for the North Island Alliance. After hearing that, Lin Yi only sneered and said, Hong Xianlei really knows how to put on airs. He didn't even show his face and only sent a disciple in charge. Did he think that he could write off everything? It's not like that. Martial Uncle Lin. Sect leader Hong had some misunderstandings before, so he was too embarrassed to come here directly. In addition, this junior was mistaken as a spy sent by Jadian's sect, so that it would be easier to communicate with Jadian's sect. So I was sent to Jadian's sect to lobby. Once the words left his mouth, Li Yunjia suddenly felt that he had said the wrong thing. What was the point of mentioning a spy? Wasn't this making Xuanji sect lose face? Sure enough, Lin Yi asked with a strange expression. You are a spy from Qingyan sect? What did you say? Yijia, you sent him over? No. This disciple has never had the habit of sending spies into my brother's sect. Xian Yijia quickly waved his hand to deny it. Xian Yijia himself was confused when he heard Li Yunjia talking about a spy. Li Yunjia had no choice but to tell him about how he had seen Jinhua suffer a loss, how he had reported it to Hong Xianlei, and how Hong Xianlei had mistaken him as a spy and locked him up for a few days. After hearing that, Lin Yi was speechless and said, It's indeed Hong Xianlei style. This is the typical symptom of eating too many retarded pills. You are quite imaginative. Spy. Huh. Li Yunjia also had an awkward expression. He smiled awkwardly and said, No. It's a critical period now. It's normal for sect leader Hong to be more vigilant and suspicious. Martial Uncle Lin, Please don't be offended. There's nothing to be offended about. This matter has nothing to do with you. It was rare for Lin Yi to have a pleasant expression again. The more he looked at this Li Yunjia, the more he looked like Xian Yijia in the past. They were both passionate for the sect, but were suppressed mercilessly. Hong Xianlei did not know how to cherish such a good disciple. It could only be said that Hong Xianlei was a little too foolish. After thinking for a while, Lin Yi suddenly said, "Go back and tell Hong Xianlei that it's not impossible for the Xuanji sect to return to the North Island Alliance. But there's a condition. Hong Xianlei must abdicate. He is not suitable to be the sect leader. Under his leadership, the Xuanji sect will be finished sooner or later. It's better for someone like you to be the sect leader. Let's put it this way. Hong Xianlei will abdicate, and you will be the sect leader. Then, the Xuanji sect can return." Li Yunjia was shocked. He quickly straightened his back and waved his hands. "Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Martial uncle, I'm only a foundation establishment, great perfection disciple. How can I be the sect leader? Please reconsider, martial uncle." Lin Yi smiled faintly and said, "You are a person who wholeheartedly works for the Xuanji sect. If you don't become the sect leader, the Xuanji sect can only wait to die. All right, send the guest out." Li Yunjia still wanted to say something, but Jin Weifeng had already pulled him up and sent him out. He could only salute with a frown and go back worriedly. After Li Yunjia left, Xian said worriedly, "Martial uncle, if you let this little guy go back and say this, Hong Xianlei might kill him on the spot." "Don't worry, Hong Xianlei won't dare to." Lin Yi, on the other hand, looked very confident. He smiled and said, "If Hong Xianlei dares to kill Li Yunjia, then he will really have no way out. Didn't you hear the rumors that the 4 major sects and families have all rejected the Xuanji sect? At this time, other than the North Island Alliance, Hong Xianlei has no other choice. Under such circumstances, do you think Hong Xianlei will still make a move on Li Yunjia?" Xian Yijia came to a sudden realization. He smiled and praised, "Martial uncle, you're really thoughtful. It's Li Yunjia's fortune to meet martial uncle." At this moment, Li Yunjia did not think that he had any fortune. After getting Lin Yi's reply, Li Yunjia was thinking about how to tactfully express it to Hong Xianlei. It was not that Li Yunjia was worried about himself, but he was afraid that Hong Xianlei would completely destroy the last hope of the Xuanji sect if he was too agitated. After returning to the Xuanji sect, Hong Xianlei asked impatiently, "How was it? How did the discussion with the people from the Blue Cloud sect go?" Li Yunjia had a wry smile on his face. It looked like he would never be able to get rid of the name of being a spy. Hong Xianlei didn't even ask if Li Yunjia was talking to the Shangwan clan or the Azure Cloud sect. He just asked about the conversation with the Azure Cloud sect. Clearly, he had sent someone to follow Li Yunjia. "Sect Master, I met with the Blue Cloud sect Master, Xian Yijia, and Martial Uncle Lin Yi. They said that we can accept the Xuanji sect again, but..." Li Yunjia pretended that he did not hear the loophole in Hong Xianlei's words and spoke normally. "But what?" Hong Xianlei was delighted. As long as the Blue Cloud sect agreed to let the Xuanji sect return to the North Island Alliance, it should not be a big problem for them to rely on the Shangwan clan. Although he was not sure what was going on, there seemed to be an unusual relationship between the Shangwan clan and the Blue Cloud sect. Sect leader Xian, I heard that your Azure Cloud sect wants our Xuanji sect to return to the North Island Alliance? That's right. After all, the 3 major sects of the North Island are a family. Since it's a win-win situation, we should settle it as soon as possible. All right, it's settled. Lin Yi glanced at Hong Xianlei coldly. He was not going to pay attention to him at all. This guy must have eaten too many moronic pills. He made it seem like the Azure Cloud sect was begging Xuanji sect to return. Was he really all right with his brain? Xian Yijia was a little annoyed. How nice was Li Yunjia's attitude before? That was how the 3 major sects of the North Island should behave when they were united. What was wrong with Hong Xianlei? Jin Weifeng was a young man after all. He was a little annoyed at once. What do you mean it's settled? Who are you? Do you have the right to speak here? Get out of here. Hong Xianlei also felt that he had gone too far. However, after he saw Exionejia, he forgot all the words he had thought of previously. Those words came out of his mouth without any thought. It was too late to regret now. Even if he wanted to change his words, he could not bring himself to do so. Wei Feng, be polite to the sect leader. Send him out properly. Exionejia did not want to talk nonsense with Hong Xianlei. He picked up his teacup and said calmly. Hong Xianlei's face turned green and red. Serve tea to send the guest off again? Can't you be a little more creative? Can't you serve tea to keep the guest? Since Exionejia had said so, it was impossible for Hong Xianlei to stay. However, the Blue Cloud sect was Xuanji sect's last chance of survival. Hong Xianlei did not dare to give up just like that. Therefore, he was in a dilemma. He did not know what to do. Right at this moment, another disciple came in and reported, Great Martial Uncle, Sect Master Exant, Sect Elder Jean, the Shangwan Clan Supreme Elder and Clan Chief have come to visit Great Martial Uncle. Can you bring them here? Hong Xianlei was shocked. The Shangwan Clan Supreme Elder and Family Leader. Someone actually came to report to them. Shouldn't they just open the door and let everyone go to the door to welcome them? He waved his hand casually and said, Bring them in. The disciple replied. Then he quickly ran out. After being interrupted by the disciple, no one paid any attention to Hong Xianlei. He didn't want to miss the chance to meet the Shangwan Clan Supreme Elder, so he just stood there quietly. After a short while, Shangwan Feixing and Shangwan Qingyun arrived together. As soon as they entered the door, Hong Xianlei rushed out and greeted them. Junior Hong Xianlei of Xuanji Sect greets the Supreme Elder and Family Leader of Shangwan. Shangwan Feixing did not know Hong Xianlei at first. Therefore, when Hong Xianlei came out to greet them, he wanted to help him. After all, he was from the Blue Cloud sect. Shangwan Feixing did not dare to put on airs in front of them. However, after hearing Hong Xianlei's name from Xuanji sect, he immediately ignored Hong Xianlei and walked over. Shangwan Qingyun followed suit, completely treating Hong Xianlei as heir. Martial Granduncle, this junior has taken the liberty to come here to ask some questions. I'm really sorry to disturb your peaceful cultivation. After Shangwan Feixing walked past Hong Xianlei, he immediately put on a smiling face and bowed respectfully to Lin Yi. Lin Yi waved his hand lightly and said, You are too polite. Just tell me if you have any questions. Actually, Lin Yi did not need Shangwan Feixing to say it. Lin Yi must have completed the mental cultivation technique. Shangwan Feixing and the others were a little confused. Otherwise, Shangwan Feixing would not have come to look for Lin Yi directly. Granduncle, there are some miscellaneous people. Can we clear them out first? Shangwan Feixing knew that Hong Xianlei did not get along with the Blue Cloud sect. Naturally, he would not show any mercy. Moreover, the Xuanji sect was a sect that had betrayed the Shangwan clan. It would be strange if Shangwan Feixing would treat him nicely. Chapter 55-41. Genius 1, Second Remember Love Go Away? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. There's definitely something wrong with this. What exactly went wrong? Hong Xianlei didn't dare to offend Shangwan Feixing. Although he didn't understand, he could only smile and leave dejectedly. After leaving the Azure Cloud sect, Hong Xianlei felt that something was wrong. He disguised himself in a corner and walked toward the lobby of an inn. There was no better place than this to gather information. This time, Hong Xianlei was smart for once. He pretended to be a nobody, which made it much easier for him to gather information. Under his intentional guidance, many cultivators who made a living would bring out the information they knew as a topic of conversation. The more information he gathered, the more frightened Hong Xianlei became. The Qinkuan sect suffered a loss at the hands of the Shangwan clan. The Shangwan clan wasn't afraid of the Qinkuan sect. The Azure Cloud sect forcefully occupied the Five-Element sect stall, and the Shangwan clan was behind it. Hong Xianlei knew some of it, but he didn't know some of it. However, there was one thing he was sure of. The Shangwan clan was no longer the weakest of the four great clans. The Shangwan clan would most likely rise in the immemorial grand meeting this time. The only thing Hong Xianlei was concerned about was why the supreme elder and family master of the Shangwan clan were so polite and respectful to Lin Yi. Could it be that Lin Yi was really the grand martial uncle of the Azure Cloud sect? I think I was wrong. I felt that something was wrong. The Shangwan clan changed their attitude toward the Xuanji sect because of the Azure Cloud sect, right? Hong Xianlei murmured to himself. He realized that Shangwan Qingyun had a falling out with him because Hong Xianlei had said bad things about the Azure Cloud sect and wanted the Shangwan clan to kick the Azure Cloud sect out of the sect. The Azure Cloud sect was the key to returning to the sect. Hong Xianlei returned to the profound secret sect in a daze. The news that he had just obtained had completely overturned Hong Xianlei's views. Although Hong Xianlei was a little obstinate and self-opinionated, it was undeniable that he still hoped that the profound secret sect could rise to prominence. Otherwise, there would be no need for him to run around and rely on others all day long. He could just focus on being the sect master of the profound secret sect. Bring Li Yunjie here. Hong Xianlei sat on a chair and waved his hand at his follower listlessly. For the sake of the profound secret sect, it seemed like he had no choice but to agree to Lin Yi's conditions. Li Yunjie came over very quickly. Hong Xianlei said solemnly, "There's no need for those useless formalities. I won't say anything unnecessary." As long as the profound secret sect can return to the North Island Alliance, I'm willing to become an ordinary disciple of the profound secret sect, let alone an honorable status like the honorary supreme elder. What he said was true. Hong Xianlei was already prepared to be pushed to the bottom when he came. He only proposed to become the supreme elder as a last resort. He never thought that he would succeed. Being an honorary supreme elder was more than enough for him now. Xianjia had always wanted the profound secret sect to return so that the three major sects of the North Island could reunite. Now that his wish had finally been fulfilled, he had a gratified expression on his face. Lin Yi looked at Xianjia and smirked. He then said, "If that's the case, let's see if there are any extra spots in the 10 minor sects in the archaic meeting this time. If there are, we'll let the profound secret sect return to the 10 minor sects. If there aren't, we'll talk about it next time. Even if there are, don't think about rising to the top in a single step. I'm guessing you'll only get the last spot in the 10 minor sects." "Thank you, Grandmaster Lin." Hong Xianlei was overjoyed when he heard that. Regardless of whether Lin Yi really had the ability or not, at least the profound secret sect could be stabilized for the time being. Hong Xianlei turned around and saw that Li Yunjie was still in a daze. He immediately tugged on his sleeve and reminded him in a low voice, "Hurry up and thank Grandmaster Lin." Hong Xianlei no longer felt any hatred or jealousy toward this guy who had stolen his position as the sect leader. Instead, he was rather grateful. If the profound secret sect could return to the 10 minor sects, all grudges and grudges would no longer matter. Li Yunjie felt like he had just woken up from a dream. He quickly bowed to thank Lin Yi. Of course, Xianjia was also there. He dare not neglect either the two big shots of the Shangwan clan. I'm just stating the facts and stating the facts. Perfected cultivator Du Nan is half a step to the peak of the peak, so it's not a problem to treat him as a peak, isn't it? Oh, if you must say so, then so be it. Shangwan Qingyun shrugged indifferently and then said, "However, even half a step to the peak of the peak can participate." "Why can't I participate?" "Ma Zayden, even if you want to be a flatterer, you can't be so blatant. Don't you want the 5 elements sex face?" "Nonsense. You are the one who is a flatterer." Ma Zayden was so angry that she was about to go crazy. She pointed at Shangwan Qingyun and shouted, "He is half a step to the peak of the peak of the peak." "Who do you think you are, Shangwan Qingyun? You're only in the late nascent soul realm, and you dare to act like a boss." Who told you that I am in the late nascent soul realm? Shangguan Qingyun looked at Ma Zedong sarcastically, but he felt indescribably refreshed. The feeling of acting cool was really good. Do you need anyone to tell you? Everyone in the ancient underworld knows how strong you are. Ma Zedong didn't feel that there was anything wrong with it, and still replied unyieldingly. Shangguan Qingyun didn't say much, and just looked at Ma Zedong with a smile. Then, he activated his mental cultivation method and revealed the aura of the peak of the nascent soul realm. Ma Zedong was instantly dumbfounded. Shangguan Qingyun was already in the peak of the nascent soul realm. According to the information, when Shangguan Qingyun came to the ruins town, he was still in the late nascent soul realm. Moreover, Shangguan Qingyun had been stuck in the late nascent soul realm for many years. How could he break through so quickly? Moreover, he broke through 2 small levels consecutively. Chapter 55-43. A genius in a second remember to go, to provide you with wonderful novels to read. The Supreme Elder of Awakening Heaven's faction, who had been silent, also looked at Shangguan Qingyun in surprise. His eyes flickered a few times, then he turned back and remained silent. Nobody knew what he was thinking. Sect leader Ma, this time, it shouldn't be 1 clear, but 2 clear, 3 clear, and 3 clear, right? Any more questions? Shangguan Qingyun looked at Ma Zedong mockingly and continued to show his nascent soul realm great perfection aura to her, without reservation. Ma Zedong's face turned green and red, and she felt wronged. In the end, she could only smile and say, "Congratulations, Shangguan family leader, your strength has improved by leaps and bounds." All right, since everyone is here, let's get ready to start. Since Ma Zedong admitted defeat, Shangguan Qingyun didn't have the intention to continue. After withdrawing his aura, he nodded and said, "Let's discuss the rules of this Archean convention." Sage Du Jia looked at Shangguan Qingyun with a gloomy face. Originally, these words were said by Qinquan's sect, or more accurately, by Du Jia himself. Now that Shangguan Qingyun had beaten him to it, it was inevitable that Du Jia was a little unhappy. However, the Shangguan family already had 2 nascent soul realm great perfection cultivators, so Du Jia could only endure it for the time being. As for the rules, I think we should use the previous ones. Du Jia suppressed the unhappiness in his heart and interrupted Shangguan Qingyun's words. In the past, we have always used the comprehensive scoring system. It's considered a more mature system. This year, there's no need to change it. At most, we just need to change the items of the competition slightly. Sage Du Jia, you're right. Our 5 elements sect has the same intention. Ma Zedong had just suffered a small loss at Shangguan Qingyun's hands and lost face. Now, of course, she had to stand on Du Jia's side to suppress the Shangguan family. Hence, she immediately agreed. The Supreme Elder of Awakening Heaven's faction closed his eyes slightly and sat motionless on the chair. He nodded slightly and said, "Let's do it this way." Shangguan Qingyun said indifferently, "All right, let's move on to the next topic." Sage Du Jia almost vomited blood. Why is it that Shangguan Qingyun is the one leading the meeting again? Didn't they say that this guy never had a mind of his own? As a matter of fact, Shangguan Qingyun was someone who had no opinions of his own, even though he was already at the perfected nascent soul realm. Hence, as long as the opinions of the Shangguan clan and Blue Cloud sect didn't harm the interests of the Shangguan clan and Blue Cloud sect, Lin Yi would let them be. Anyway, with Lin Yi's strength, there shouldn't be any problems under normal circumstances. Chapter 55-44. Genius 1, second remember to go away, to provide you with wonderful novels to read. Sage Du Jia's face turned black. He turned his head and ignored Shangguan Qingyun, but he was cursing in his heart. I've never heard of Shangguan Qingyun being such a person. If I knew, I would have killed him long ago. Ma Zedong was about to go crazy. Shangguan Qingyun's whisper couldn't be hidden from the ears of the nascent soul realm cultivators at the peak nascent soul realm. If Shangguan Qingyun was still at the late nascent soul realm, Ma Zedong would have killed him 18 times. Cheat and I came out again to smooth things over. All right, today is the opening day of the Archean Grand Meeting. Let's not waste any more time. Let's decide on the competition items first. What I mean is to choose a few of the previous events as the opening competition, and then think of a few new events to add to it. What do you think? Of course, if you find it troublesome and want to completely follow the previous items, I have no opinion. Shangguan Qingyun was the first to express his opinion. What Elder Qi said is very reasonable. I completely agree. Let's do it this way. Sage Du Jie secretly rolled his eyes. What did Qi and I say? You completely agree? That's all nonsense, okay? Do you agree to keep a few old items and choose a few new ones? Or completely copy the previous items? Actually, Shangguan Qingyun completely agreed with Qi and I. No matter what, he didn't care. Anyway, the final plan would only be fully implemented after Green Cloud Sect advanced. The initial projects only involved the 10 Academies qualification and the 10 Academies competition. The Green Cloud Sect directly obtained the qualification of the 10 Academies, so there was no need for them to participate in these projects. Hence, Shangguan Qingyun really didn't care at all. We, Qingyun Sect, feel that it's better to keep some of the original items and add some new ones. Sage Du Jie didn't want to bother with Shangguan Qingyun, so he directly discussed with Qi Denai. Qi Denai nodded. He originally had this intention. Since Sage Du Jie also thought so, it was naturally for the best. Ma Zedong snorted and said, 5 Elements Sect also agrees. Shangguan Qingyun said with a look of concern, Sect Leader Ma, are you feeling very uncomfortable? You're in so much pain. Don't take medicine so casually in the future. You're the one who's taking medicine. Ma Zedong finally couldn't take it anymore. She slammed the table and roared. Qi Dalei quickly tried to smooth things over. We're all the top figures of the immemorial underworld. Let's talk less. Time is of the essence. Let's hurry up and discuss the important matters. Shangguan Qingyun shrugged his shoulders innocently and said, this sect master Ma is really hot-tempered. Perhaps it's not that he took too much medicine, but that he didn't? None of you stop me. I'm going to kill him today. It will be difficult for either of us to deal with the 2 nascent soul, great perfection cultivators of the Shangguan clan, right? Du Jie looked at Ma Zedong indifferently and said, forget it, just pretend I never heard about this. Ma Zedong was slightly startled. He originally thought that Du Jie would definitely agree if he proposed to join forces, but he didn't expect this guy to reject him so directly. Daoist Du Jie, what do you mean? Is the dignified Qingyun sect going to admit defeat? Are you planning to let the Shangguan clan climb above your heads? Ma Zedong wasn't willing to accept this, so he even tried to provoke them. Ha ha ha. Ma Zedong was unwilling to accept this, so he even tried to provoke them. Du Jie chuckled and said, Sect Leader Ma, although our 2 sects have never been on good terms, it wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that we are old enemies. However, I still want to remind you not to cause too much trouble. Otherwise, I'm afraid that I won't be able to see your 5 Elements sect in the next Archaic Grand Meeting. He actually naively thought that they were really 2 weak chickens. 2 nascent soul stage experts, one at the late nascent soul stage and the other at the middle nascent soul stage. How could this kind of strength be considered weak chickens? Brother Lin Yu, forget it. Let's not talk about it. Ling Tianyu shook his head. He felt that he had nothing to talk about with an abnormal person like Lin Yi. He could only change the topic and ask, did the Qingyun sect not make any follow-up moves after you sent the 2 nascent soul stage experts back? I didn't send them back. I directly killed them. The Qingyun sect suffered such a big loss, so they probably don't have the guts to cause trouble for me for a while. Unless they can figure out all the details about me, they won't easily make a move. Lin Yi smiled indifferently. He had almost figured out the thoughts of the Chinquan sect. As for his own strength, Lin, he didn't want to talk too much, so he changed the topic and asked, "Just now, you said that the Thousand Blades sect was disbanded. What exactly happened?" Ling Tianyu shook his head with a bitter smile. "The Thousand Blades sect has already declined. The people below heard that I offended the Chinquan sect and the Invincible Patriarch, so they all quietly left the sect. The people's hearts were scattered, so the sect was also disbanded." Linny glanced at the silent, invincible primordial era and said meaningfully, "Some people have the same moral character as the Chinquan sect. They wanted to show off without figuring out their opponent's strength, but in the end, they kicked an iron plate. It's too late to regret now, right?" You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.